Hello, Janksters, and welcome to another edition of the MagicJank podcast, the show where members of Team MagicJank get together and we talk about magical gatherings and all the things associated with them. We got a lot of Avatar previews and some other fun stuff to discuss today, and I'm joined by the one and only CarloMTG. Carlo, how's it going, man?
Oh, it's going great. Getting ready for Avatar. We got to talk about it a little bit last week, and now that the full card image gallery is live, I can talk about any and everything Avatar without potentially making a mistake, so that's good.
Yes, yeah,
And yeah, so
you're free. Let's go.
excited to talk about some of the cards, most of which as it relates to standard. But we'll talk about some cool commander stuff too, I suppose.
Absolutely. And so, yeah, so as far as kind of our docket goes, we have a lot of Avatar spoilers, but we're going to be kind of, that's going to be the tail end of the show because it's going to be a big chunk. Otherwise, there are two other pieces of news that we want to touch on. We have a BNR announcement coming in just a day or two. If you're listening to this the day this drops, if you're listening to this after that, then feel free to laugh at us because we want to do one final discussion around this banned and restricted announcement that's coming out on Monday because we've been talking about it for literally months. Normally, when we say that we've been talking about ban announcements, for months, that's usually hyperbole. This case, it's not. It's literally been like 2 months that we knew this was coming. We kind of want to do final predictions, like lock it in. What do we think is actually going to be on there, on the record? Let's just throw it down, and we'll see in a couple of days how we did. So we'll touch on that. We don't need to beat that dead horse more as far as detailed discussion goes, but there's also Gavin released a video discussing his opinions on the commander, the way that commander color identity treats hybrid mana. And so I definitely that's an interesting one that seems to have the community kind of divided. And so I think that'd be a fun one to kind of unpack and discuss. And in that video, he talks about a number of other rules changes that the panel has discussed that they're not moving forward with. And so I think reactions to that and kind of unpacking what the future of Commander looks like could be a lot of fun. So let's go ahead and get started there. So Carlo, so in the video, he specifically stated that from his perspective, Gavin is definitely on board with the hybrid mana rule changing, but he definitely unpacked a number of kind of the sticky scenarios that creates, especially as it relates to, then how do you interpret hybrid or Phyrexian mana, and then like the two brids where it's like a colorless hybrid. And so interesting discussion, interesting thought process. But at the end of the day, Gavin Verhey is definitely of the opinion that for deck building, you should be able to take a hybrid mana symbol and treat it as one or the other. All right. What are your thoughts on that? What do you think?
It's funny that we're talking about it because at the end of the last episode, I said it was something that we didn't want to delve into because of the controversy, and then I think I gave a take on it. And I think if you go back and watch the other video, I remember that I said something like there are 20 million cards in Commander, and like, does it really matter? It's sort of where I left off with it.
Which is a fair criticism, fair question, sure.
Yeah, I think I still am of the same opinion, but Gavin did break it down really well, right? Like in the video, he talks about, his opinion is not Wizard's opinion. He talks about how there had been some design mistakes in certain hybrid cards that had been created, right? He talks about like cards having to do something with both colors in terms of being responsible to the color pie. But he said some cards, went outside of that. And he said these are design mistakes for this reason. But I think it's fine if it's something that they want to do. I don't see it as being a problem in the same sense that I think there's 20 million cards, so it doesn't matter if it doesn't happen.
Sure.
There and then he also referenced in the video talking about some of the hybrid cards that are in Avatar: The Last Airbender, right? So to sort of like use his example here, there is a card that was recently previewed in Avatar called Wandering Musicians. I think it's like a really good example of his point. So Wandering Musicians is 3 and hybrid, red or white. It's a 2/5 human bard ally with Appa in the back. And whenever this creature attacks, creatures you control get +1/+0 to end of turn. Right? So this is a pretty common ability that you find amongst red and white cards, monocolored cards in either set, in any set. Multiple cards do this. So, should you be able to play this card in a mono red deck or a mono white deck, given that the ability of the card is responsible to its color ply rules? And
Mm-hmm.
that answer is yes, because both red or white would have this type of an ability. You aren't given an advantage one way or another if it normally wouldn't belong in, let's say, I don't know, your teamer deck. Would it matter if you played this card in the teamer deck? Probably not,
Nah, it'd be
right?
fine. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think, it's those types of scenarios that you would want to look at more, right? Would this matter if you played this in just Momo from Avatar: The Last Airbender? Mono white Momo, would that want to play Wandering Musicians? According to the current rules, it can't. But is it relevant to
Mm-hmm.
give a bunch of your cheap flying creatures +1/+0 when this human bard ally attacks? Probably. It's probably
Sure.
beyond fair in terms of the way the commander is, right?
Right.
So the
Yeah.
the real question is, should you be able to do this? And I think it
Mm-hmm.
would be fine, personally.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. And I mean, when we're talking about, I think this really illustrates the core point very nicely, because I think a lot of the straw man arguments that people hold up are those design mistakes where they're just like, oh, do you want, a deck getting access to this kind of effect that shouldn't? And it's like, well, no, I don't. But by that logic, red shouldn't have Chaos Warp and green shouldn't have Beast Within. And those are staples. And so it's like,
Yeah.
well, do we want to rewrite the way that Commander is played entirely, or do we want to not worry about the outliers and just look at the core issue? And
Yeah.
so, in this case, we're looking at a draft common. So like this card isn't going to be, I mean, you can put this card in a green deck and it's not going to be problematic. So but the real question of like, does it make sense for a white deck to
Right.
have this? Does it make sense for a red deck to have this? Absolutely. I feel like that this passes the sniff test pretty nicely.
Yeah.
And I think the vast majority of hybrid cards are like that. When you really look at it, it's like, oh yeah, that would fit either just fine. Um,
Hmm.
so, and so I think the core rule changing. I'm personally of the opinion that I'm signing with Gavin on this one. I like the idea of that rules change happening because it feels very intuitive and it feels like it's honoring the design intent behind hybrid mana.
Hmm.
Because right now, Commander is the only format in Magic where that's the case, and
Right.
where hybrid is exclusionary and not inclusive, and that just kind of bugs me. Like I just on a really it's I also agree with you that it's not that big of a deal. So if it doesn't change, whatever. But if they're gonna if they're really gonna take the time and effort, I'm of the opinion that we should make that change. Yeah. The other point that Gavin brought up in the video that I really appreciated was his comment. The other argument that people go to is like, well, for a newer player, is it going to be confusing? And he really just addressed the fact that, like, according to survey data and everything they've seen, it's like, it looks like it's a reasonable assumption either way. And like, so some people will assume it works the way that it currently does, and some people will assume that a hybrid is flexible, and it's just kind of a coin toss as to how they see it. So that doesn't really sway the discussion one way or the other,
Yeah.
which is
And
fair.
And I would say, before they really started coming out with a bunch of commander precons, like constantly, like in the amount
Mm-hmm.
and frequency that they do, that it was confusing for newer players. Whereas newer players are kind of incentivized, go buy a precon. This precon is playable out of the box.
Mm-hmm.
So you wouldn't really question it if you were new to commander, because you would just be able to see everything that you have in your precon commander deck and make upgrades as you go. Whereas
Right.
before, you're talking, let's say 10 years ago, trying to play Commander and me finding like some OG Shadowmoor card and wondering whether or
Right.
not I can play an off-color hybrid card in this deck was, you couldn't do it then, but more uncertain. There were no like precon rules to sort of go by, right?
Right.
You people were just building decks with cards that they had or they owned. So I think the idea behind all of this is way more streamlined now because of the products that are out there on the market, the easy accessibility to them, so on and so forth. So
Mm-hmm.
making the rules change shouldn't really be that much of an issue.
Yeah. There we go. Boom. So yeah,
Um,
interesting. But there, so
I
there
will
was
say,
another. Yeah. No, dude. I think I know where you're going. Take it away.
Uh, Listen, in the same video, though, it was brought up the point that the Commander format panel talked about making all Planeswalkers able to be played as commanders, and that they overwhelmingly said no. And I kind of have a problem with that. Not because
Yeah.
I'm biased and I love Planeswalkers, and I might have a 5 color Planeswalker commander deck. Um, on Arena for Brawl, you
Hmm.
can play any Planeswalker as your commander.
You sure can. Yep.
So if you were newer to Magic, and let's say your introduction to Magic was that you started playing Arena
Hmm.
and you play Brawl, and you can build a creative 100 card singleton deck out of any Planeswalker as your commander there,
Right.
why is that a problem for multiplayer commander? Where you would have more answers to this particular commander, any particular commander that is a Planeswalker.
Yeah.
Um, Not saying that you are at more of an advantage or a disadvantage in the fact that you can have a Planeswalker as your commander. Most Planeswalkers have different. All Planeswalkers have different varying levels of how powerful they might be.
Hmm.
Some Planeswalkers are just stone cold unplayable,
Oh my goodness, yes.
like Dovanbon, right? I would never want to build a OG Dovanbon commander deck. As cool
No.
as the villain Dovanbon might be himself, it's just not a very interesting commander. I don't think.
No.
I'm sorry, it's just not an interesting planeswalker that you think would be playable in multiplayer, right?
Hmm.
Like don't even put Jovan Bond in any commander deck that's blue white period because I don't think that the card is good.
Right.
So if it you have varying levels of power level, why can't somebody who wants to build a Dovin Bond commander deck just do that and still play by the rules and pay 2 extra mana to recast these cards? What is so wrong about that, right? Like if you're gonna make the rules change, or you desire to make a rules change to have be able to have people play more cards in their deck because of hybrid mana, what is so bad about that rules change also being in effect to say, here's all of these other commanders that you can be creative with and play also? I don't know. Um, I don't particularly think that there's any planeswalker that is so powerful that it can't be in the command zone.
Hmm.
As someone who plays a lot of them, um,
Sure.
so I don't understand what the hesitation is. They went
Mm.
ahead with Edge of Eternities and made this new card type Spacecraft immediately commander playable, and then said
True.
all legendary vehicles can be commanders as well. How that rules change happened before allowing planeswalkers to do the same didn't make sense to me. Period.
Mm.
Because I understand that your vehicle or spacecraft can eventually become a creature, but with that logic, so can Sarkhan Dragon Speaker when I +1 and
Right.
turn it into a dragon, right? Uh, or what is the one from War of the Spark that literally turns all of your planeswalkers into 4/4 dragons,
Right.
right? Like if that's going to be the logic behind it, there are planeswalkers that can become creatures or create
Hmm.
creatures, right?
Yeah.
Like I would agree that you probably should look at some of the commanders and evaluate their power level on whether or not they should be prohibited as being played as a commander. Um, but if that was any type of logic used, then you should really determine if the card's too strong for commander. I guess my
Right.
example for that would be Oko Thief of Crowns, right? That card's not banned in
Sure.
commander, but I certainly don't think it would be fair for somebody to have an Oko Thief of Crowns as their commander, considering you can play this out on turn 1 or turn 2 and Oko is busted, right? It
Right.
was banned in standard, right? At one point when it was standard legal. Card is very good.
Sure. I mean, the card is incredibly strong, but I think Oko really illustrates. It's there are a number of these cards where in 1v1 environments, the amount of value you get for 3 mana off Oko is absolutely insane.
Yeah.
But I do wonder, in an environment where you have 3 players checking you, and this is a known thing at the beginning of the game, how big of a, I mean, yeah, the card is strong, but like nothing that Oko is doing here is going to be overly problematic necessarily compared to just a whole host of other incredibly busted cards in Commander. So I do wonder, would Oko in the command zone be as bad as something like what is it, Leovold? That can just dominate the entire game. Like, I don't see that. I see it as being very strong, and it's like it should probably have cost like 4 or have a lower starting loyalty or whatever. Like, obviously all the normal Oko complaints still stand, but like, how busted would that actually be as a commander in a pod? I don't know. And the other one I can't help but think about when you're comparing, I love the comparison to Brawl, and I pulled it up as the image on the screen. Teferi, Hero of Dominaria, is another example of a planeswalker that's treated as, or considered to be incredibly powerful, and might be the first thing people thought of, which is like, oh god, I don't want to have that in somebody's command zone. But at the same time, like, the play pattern for Teferi is a traditional Azorius control package. And, like, if somebody's actually going to try to counterspell every single thing that's happening in a commander pod, they freaking earned it. Like, good luck, So,
people were doing that back in the day with Asperia Supreme Judge, right? 6-mana Asperia was always, like, and we're talking back in the day, y'all. I'm not talking about now, but, like,
yeah.
Your original Asperia decks, most of them were blue-white control wdecks. With where Asperia was like your finisher or whatever.
So I think honestly, the more you mention it, the more I am kind of on the same page of like, why not?
And not for nothing, we have played plenty Commander together.
Oh yeah,
when I my Planeswalker deck.
I've seen the deck in action a number of times.
Get just targeted first. I play one Planeswalker on the battlefield. Immediately the game changes, destroy that Planeswalker.
Yep.
Right? Or I get attacked. And just for all of you Planeswalker haters out there, the best Planeswalker removal is player removal. Attack the player. Forget the Planeswalker.
Yeah. Well, and because I've definitely done that where I spent 3 or 4 turns just attacking your Planeswalkers, and it is the most Sisyphean task ever. It's just like, because it's like, when I, looking back and realizing, like, I just dealt 30 damage to not your face. Yeah. What are we doing here? It's very frustrating. So no, exactly.
I just think there's a lot of creativity that could go into making making a commander deck around your favorite Planeswalker, right?
Totally.
And whether it's monocolored, multicolored, or 5-colored. And by the way, there's a 5-color Planeswalker commander, right? Jared is a 5-color Planeswalker commander. So, like, if I wanted to build a Gideon Ally of Zendikar deck that was a white weenies deck with that as my payoff as my commander.
Yeah.
Why not? What's wrong with that? Right? You and I guess not that I ever want to bring CEDH into an argument, but like if there's some way to take advantage of Planeswalkers for a competitive format, 1, I might actually play it. But 2, using Oko as the example, building a Simic Oko deck in CEDH, is that already going to be as strong as what already exists in the format? And a format that is like cares mostly about comboing off and winning by turn 3 or 4, right?
Right.
So
that's a great question.
I don't know. I think I would encourage you, if anybody from the Commander format panel is listening to me yap right now, I would encourage you to rethink that possible future decision from a creativity standpoint.
Yeah, the one card that comes to mind, I like including Oko in that discussion, but I feel like Narset Parter of Veils in a command zone might not be fun. But even then, being restricted to blue in the deck is significant. And I don't know, it almost feels like if that's just a high powered deck, if you built it with wheels and stuff, then okay, then that's just a high powered deck you're playing. Is that going to be problematic? I don't know.
Where it is problematic is if they chose eventually to unban Jeweled Lotus, and then you could play Narset on turn 1. That's kind of busted.
That's
right?
nuts. Yeah.
I would agree. That would be kind of busted. But and nobody, not a lot of people like being wheeled, and not a lot of people like restricting the ability for them to play the game.
Yeah, exactly.
We'll
this
talk
is one
about
of those cards.
Draenith Magistrate at a later time, but like that's a card that probably shouldn't be legal in Commander. But
I'm kind of with you on that. I feel like it shouldn't be legal in Commander the same way that like Pithing Needle isn't legal in Brawl. Because Planeswalkers can be commanders, and it's like here's one card that just shuts down your whole deck. Like, yeah, it's like it's kind of silly. Yeah, so it feels similar. Although all of a sudden, if planeswalkers could be commanders, then cards like Sorcerer Spyglass and Pithing Needle become much more relevant in Commander, where they normally, where they often aren't. So
And also
I don't know.
more
That's
fair though,
true. Yeah.
you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because which planeswalker do you shut down if there are multiples in the pod? And like, yeah.
Yeah.
And additionally, though, I feel like the bottom line in Commander, planeswalkers just aren't that good. Like the reason your planeswalker deck is usually able to work is just because you have an overwhelming number of them. Like
Yeah.
that's what needs to happen. Whereas just like one or two here and there, they just get picked off and like.
Yeah.
So when I'm looking at a planeswalker for purposes of Commander, it really just comes down to, is the first down tick I can get immediately, or like is that worth it? Or is there a passive I can like take advantage of the first turn? Is that
Yeah.
worth the card? And if the answer is no, it's like, well, this planeswalker just, you can never plan on them surviving a one turn around
Yeah.
the table ever. Like
The
it just,
planeswalkers have to do something impactful when they enter the
Mhm.
battlefield, like most creatures in Commander,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
If you don't do something impactful right away, or you're not setting up for a combo, the card's just not worth playing. I think a perfect example of this is 4 mana Tameo. Um, Tameo
Field researcher.
Field. Nope. No, Field Research. That's the busted one.
Yeah, this one's
That's
nuts.
that's I combo with people on that to get Omniscience up on cards. Great. I'm
Collector of
thinking about
Tales.
Collector of Tales. Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
I play this card in my 5-color Planeswalker Commander deck
Hmm.
because it digs me for another Planeswalker, right? Or something I might need for a combo that exists between like 5 cards in my deck, right? Otherwise, this card doesn't really belong in a Simic deck. It does Simic things. It mills you. It helps you find cards. It regrowths, but I'd rather just play regrowth than this
Yeah.
card, right? Now the static ability of it is relevant to make you not sacrifice things. Sure, I mean that's fun. People are doing that in Commander all the time, but
Hmm.
typically you don't have to worry about that in your Simic Commander deck, right? It's
Right.
a different story when Tameo was legal in Standard because you could use it as a, you know, sideboard tech or card against sacrifice effects that just generally make you sacrifice creatures or sacrifice other things. Where that static ability mattered more. Where it doesn't really much
Hmm.
matter, I don't think, in Commander. Is it a casual card that you can put in your Commander deck? Yeah, sure. But I
Yeah.
wouldn't be playing this card in a high power deck unless you've got some type of combo with it. Me naming Soul Ring off of Tameo Collector of Tales isn't really good, considering Soul Ring generally played later in the game is not great. And then I'm milling all of my payoff cards to search for a mana ramp card. You know, so
Yeah.
I guess that's
It's
just my thoughts on the whole. Can should planeswalkers be commanders? I think yes. So please give us the ability to play
and
planeswalkers.
it's so funny because when I watched that video and he said that they all agreed that they shouldn't, my immediate reaction was, yeah, okay, that makes sense. But now hearing this counter argument, I think I'm coming around to this idea because yeah, it does make sense. And at the end of the day, I mean, Commander is a social environment. You could
Yeah,
already rule zero these,
yeah.
um, and so just making that the official stance. I mean,
But also,
yeah.
not to go further on this, but like that in essence is magic. Like letting you play as
Hmm.
planeswalker as your commander in probably what is the number one played format in Magic, right?
Yeah.
Like Magic is advertised as you're a planeswalker. Why can't
Hmm.
I play my favorite planeswalker as my commander?
Well, I mean, you're right, and I mean, even the logo that they use on most of their like merchandising and marketing is it shows what is known as the Planeswalker symbol.
Planeswalker. Yeah.
Like that's what they call it. Like, and
Yeah.
so yeah, like, it's definitely a game about the Planeswalkers. So yeah, the fact that the majority of them, unless they were printed as a creature at some point, are not characters you can play as your commander. Yeah, it's interesting.
And
Hmm.
considering going further about like universes beyond, not that I want to go into a universes beyond tangent. We're going to be talking about Avatar.
I mean, it's
Um
fine. It is.
but
Yeah.
like a whole big point about universes beyond is being able to play with your favorite character, and you can't make your favorite character a planeswalker because they're not in their own lore.
Hmm.
um but if that's the case, if my favorite character in Magic is a planeswalker, then I should equally be able to play my favorite character, my favorite Magic character, as my commander.
Right. Makes sense.
And
Yeah, they
vehicles and spacecraft are neither of those, right? They're just
this is
new,
true.
sort of mechanically unique things that are in the game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and when it comes to Universes Beyond Planeswalkers, they've done it once. There was one set that had Universes Beyond Planeswalkers, and that was in the D&D set.
That's right.
Yeah, Eliwick, Tumblestrom, and Lolth are both Planeswalkers because they, their power set apparently aligned fairly closely with that of, one of them was a literal like god, so okay, and they thought it kind of worked, but the reaction, the response to that, and kind of the feeling afterwards was, yeah, that didn't really track, that didn't jive, and so it's very clear they're never going to do that again.
But
Yeah.
using this example,
Mm-hmm.
why don't these planeswalkers have text on them that says that they could be played as your commander?
I mean, yeah,
Even
like
if it's a one-off.
right, and looking at Eliwick, I mean, like, you got Venture, you have, creature, draw action, you have an overrun effect, like, why not? Like, I don't know. And starting loyalty 4 for a 4-drop, this is perfectly fair, not problematic at all. It's just doing mono green things. Like, heck, yeah, why not? Great question. Like, this would be a perfectly fine commander. And in fact, like, it almost reads like it is one of those, like, pre-con Planeswalker
Right.
commanders. Like, it looks very similar to those in design. Yeah. So, yeah, no idea. Yeah.
Is my 2
Actually,
cents, y'all.
yeah,
Please
now I
feel
kind of want.
free to let us know in the comments.
Oh yeah,
Say
please,
why this
absolutely.
would or wouldn't be a good idea.
Actually, now rereading Eliwick, I'm realizing the emblem: creatures you control get trample and haste, and get 2/2 for each differently named dungeon you've completed. With the initiative now being part of the deal, like, I feel like a commander pod or a commander game with this as your commander is one of the only universes in which you'd actually implement that and have gone through more than just one dungeon.
Yes.
So I kind of want that now. Like, I kind of want to build this deck now. But yeah,
Yep.
anyway. Yeah, interesting stuff. All right, so going into more Universes Beyond stuff, let's pivot into some Avatar spoilers. So
Yes.
yeah, we are now weapons free on the whole thing. They've all been previewed, and I know you've been itching to really like discuss some of these. So where would you like to start as far as what we got?
I would like to start with a card that was previewed last that I am very, very surprised that one, it was just added to the card image gallery and nobody got it as an official preview card. That is Sandbender Scavengers.
Yeah.
Um, this is an Orzhov card, so white black for a 1/1. It is a creature, human rogue. Says whenever you sacrifice another permanent, you put a +1/+1 counter on this creature. When this creature dies, you may exile it. When you do, return target creature card with mana value less than or equal to this creature's power from your graveyard to the battlefield. This is, so again, I'm looking at this from a standard perspective.
Mm-hmm.
I think this card is fairly strong because there already is this Orzhov sacrifice deck that exists in standard. It's just not
Mm-hmm.
very playable with VV, etc. running the format. But it's all about sacrificing, cheap one-drop creatures like Greedy Freebooter, which makes
Mm-hmm.
you a treasure token. Like the 1/1 Insect Warlock that gives you a 1/1 flyer after the fact.
Yeah,
Um,
Infestation Sage. Yeah. Oh
yes,
yeah.
it plays the Gorehound that lets you surveil, and this card would also let you surveil when it enters.
Mm-hmm.
Servandum gets bigger, gains you life. The Blood Witch, sacrifice when creature dies, lose a life, gain a life. Sephiroth is played in this deck, and some versions of it also play Raise the Past, which this card can be reanimated
Does
from.
get yep.
So it fits perfect, in my opinion, in that shell. Um, and that's why I say I'm surprised that they waited to preview it because I think this card's very strong.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, and if the meta meaningfully shifts here soon, that could become a contender. And yeah, I completely agree with you. It fits really nicely, and I mean, even the biggest cards in those decks are, we're talking about Sephiroth or the other thing that in Orzhov I can't help but think of, like, maybe I don't think Catcher Most necessarily fits, but like I don't know, there's a world, but getting to 3 on this is going to be very easy because the sacrifice trigger of putting counters isn't limited to once per turn or non-token permanents or any of that jazz. So like if you have an Umbral Collar Zealot and a couple map tokens down, bam, like you all of a sudden can sacrifice this and turn it, upgrade it into a Sephiroth or whatever and just go to town. Like this gives that deck a shocking amount of resilience, I think. And especially, with Umbral Collar Zealot available in the format as well. I mean, they gave us an unrestricted 2-drop overstatted Nantuko Husk, and no one's using it. Like, it's wild.
Yes, I agree. But, I mean, that just speaks, right, to the warpedness of Standard, right? Yep. And hopefully something changes on the 10th. But, I think this card's very powerful. And I certainly will be looking to try to play this card in that shell.
Oh, heck yeah. Yeah, it reminds me a lot of Vondom, and I gotta say, I think the +1/+1 counters as sacrifice payoffs makes a lot of sense. Like, I like that. It's a way to convert sacrifice into damage in an interesting way that has plenty of counterplay. So, I think that's neat. I dig it. All right.
What about you? Any cards that you're very excited about?
There's one. Every now and then, my Blue Sky algorithm knows me very, very well. And every so often, it will just like cut through the noise and find the one card for me. And I just opened up Blue Sky, and the top post was LevDev posting about Zuko's Conviction.
Yeah.
This is me. I love this card. So it's an instant for a single black with Kicker 4. Return target creature card from your graveyard to your hand. Already instant speed, raise dead. Already good. Like that's already playable. But if the spell was kicked, instead you put that card onto the battlefield tapped. Instant speed reanimation is one of my favorite things, to the point where I'm actually running Live or Die in a number of decks, and I'm not sorry. I love it. Because people, like, it's the ability to get somebody got by that is a very real thing. And so having this, especially when like Ghost Vacuum is one of the primary pieces of graveyard hate out there, because in response to them activating the Ghost Vac, you can reanimate the thing they're targeting or raise dead the thing they're targeting with this, so that it's like, okay, it's not in my graveyard anymore, but it's in my hand, so I can discard it to another effect later. It dodged that Vac, And if you're doing the Sultai like ramp reanimation thing that I absolutely adore, okay, maybe I'll just hardcast Valgavoth if I have to. Like, that's fine, but it's not in exile now.
Yeah.
I love that.
This is probably like the most playable raise dead type effect that we've had since Dominaria. The last card I remember that was playable was Urborg Repossession. You remember that card?
Yeah.
And that was a common black card, sorcery speed that let you raise dead, right? So return a creature from graveyard to hand. You could pay the kicker to return another target permanent. So like this card was really played with what is that card? Shigeki. Back in the day, like there was an older Jund deck that let you just like keep recurring Shigeki back to your hand and stuff like that. Zuko's Conviction does not do the same thing, but the fact that it is a raise dead at instant speed for also 1 mana lets it rival this card. Right? Because at sorcery speed before, if you had Ghost Vacuum in the same format, and I think at one point we did technically have Agatha's Soul Cauldron in the same format, but it was when that deck like went out, but nobody was really playing Agatha's Soul Cauldron in Standard. Nobody.
At that point,
So that card's not strong at all, of course. Yeah,
maybe because it's not a problem if we don't have Vivi. Just
right. But instant speed reanimation has been a recurring theme in these other sets, right? I think it was Karlov Manor had one that was like 3 and triple black.
It was 3 and 2 black. It was doesn't add up. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And that would either destroy a creature or reanimate a creature, right? At instant speed, that's that card. Oh no, I'm thinking of
it reanimated a thing, but you suspected it, and so because it's a suspect, it couldn't block, but it also had menace. And so that's how that was the reason why it never really saw play, is like instant speed reanimator that can't block is really a bummer. I'm of the opinion that if it's an instant speed Atali, who cares? But but at the
There
same
is another
time,
one, and I forget what set it's from, but it's definitely similar mana cost, if not the same. And it's like destroy target creature
oh,
or return target creature from graveyard to the battlefield, right? It's
that's
also
live or
instant
die.
speed.
Oh,
Live or
I know
die.
that
There you
one.
go.
I use that all the time, and also looking for that, or no, life or death. I think it is. The keyword search on that on Scryfall is a nightmare because it's the most generic name with the most generic words.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. Anyway, I'll find it. Yeah,
But yeah,
but yeah,
I
use it.
agree. I think this
I use
card's
that
really
card often.
good.
I love it. Yeah, yeah. Live or die. That's the one. Bam.
There you go.
Yeah. But no, so Zuko's Conviction, it reminds me of a lot of these cards, and I think comparing it to Urborg Repossession, um, is a really interesting one because this was basically Golgari like divination,
Yeah.
like, and I think a lot of folks think of raised dead effects as obviously it like triggers insidious roots and things like that, but for the most part it's just black card draw, and you have the selection of whatever's in your graveyard, right? So that's often how you got to think about it. With Urborg Repossession, you could spend one card. It was 3 mana across 2 colors, but you got 2 back to your hand, and you even gained a little bit of life for your trouble. So the amount of value you got off this was pretty nuts. And that the addition of going up on cards, you don't have with Zuko's Conviction. But yeah, like you're saying, the tempo. You get a pretty significant tempo benefit by it being instant. And the option to just reanimate stuff. It is what it is. I love it. I just can't help it. So yeah, so that's the one that's got my attention. Yeah, Zuko's Conviction. I'm definitely gonna be using that.
Yeah.
All right.
Another really sweet card that was previewed, also uncommon, is
Excellent.
Accumulate Wisdom. Now, Accumulate Wisdom is an instant. It's a blue card, 1 and a blue. It's a lesson. It says, look at the top 3 cards of your library. Put one of those cards in your hand and the rest in the bottom of your library in any order. Put each of those cards in your hand instead if there are 3 or more lesson cards in your graveyard.
Ooh.
Now, so most of the time, this card is going to get you 1 card, but you get to look at 3. So think of this card in the standard way, similar to Consult the Star Charts, which if you
Mm-hmm.
only cast it for 2 and you only had 2 lands, you only get to look at 2 cards and pick 1. So this digs you an extra card, right? But there's no larger scale thing that happens with this in the same way Consult the Star Charts does.
Mm-hmm.
However, you get to draw 3 cards for 2 mana if you have other lesson cards. I'm sorry, it's not draw, it's put into your hand, right? This doesn't actually
Yeah.
draw the cards. That matters because there's cards like Razorkin Needlehead in Standard that make you take damage when you draw cards.
Right.
So you wouldn't in this case. Um, Now, you might think to yourself, are lessons actually playable in Standard? Now, there's a lot of cards in Avatar: The Last Airbender that are lessons, both in red and blue, and the color combo is pretty strong in Standard,
Yeah.
like pretty strong. Um, so when we're taking a look at the different lessons that are in this set, you want to take a look at, there is a hybrid mana one. Let me bring it up really quick. That is red or blue hybrid. It is instant speed. It's called Abandon Attachments. So for 1 and either a red or blue, it's an instant. You may discard a card. If you do, draw 2 cards. So
Mm.
2 mana, instant speed, discard, draw 2. So it can help fuel your graveyard to put lessons in it. And it also works really well with Fear of Missing Out from Duskmourn, right? Because that would help you enable Delirium. Not to
Mm-hmm.
mention, this card in particular works really well with Marauding Mako, which cares
Huh.
about you discarding cards to grow in strength. Not to mention, this card works really well with Proph's Eidetic Memory that
Sure
cares
does.
about you drawing cards and putting counters on your things. And also, these lesson cards work really well with another avatar card called Sokka, Bold Boomeranger, which was previewed a while ago. But Sokka also is within the Izzet color scheme, is
Mm-hmm.
only 2 mana, is a 1/1, lets you discard up to 2 and draw that many cards. And whenever you cast an artifact or lesson spell, Sokka gets a counter. So you are rewarded by casting more instants and or sorceries that are lessons. And so the reason I bring up the original card that we started on this
Mm-hmm.
tangent with, which was the
Yeah,
lesson that might
accumulate.
let you draw 3 cards, accumulate wisdom.
Yeah.
It is going to be fairly easy for this card to be 2 mana, put 3 cards in your hand
Which is bonker at instant speed. Like,
at instant speed.
that's disgusting. Like, yeah,
So
no, you're absolutely
I
right. That's
really
going to be
like this
very easy to
card.
do.
I
Wow.
really like this card for standard. And if you want to
Mm-hmm.
get really spicy, and I don't know about you, Ham, but I like to get spicy.
Oh, you know it.
There is a 2 mana sorcery lesson that's also in red. It's called
Oh,
Price of Freedom.
okay.
Not only does this blow up any artifact or land, but it also draws you a card for 2 mana.
What are we doing here? Yeah, destroy target artifact or land an opponent controls. Its controller may search their library for basic land, put it onto the battlefield, tap, then shuffle. It's cleansing wildfire, but it can also hit but it can also hit artifacts. What? What are we doing here? Like,
We're teaching our opponents lessons in the best color combination you can play in standard is what we're doing.
oh my goodness.
Now, again, I'm not trying to bring up VV at all. But for those who keep saying that VV isn't the problem, imagine being able to play VV Orniteer in standard with all of these cards. I'm just saying.
Yeah, no, that's nuts. I find it hard to believe that anyone in good faith is trying to argue that VV is not the problem, and if they are, they're just not looking at the data, and it just, yeah, that's anyway. So that said, if you're listening to this right now and you genuinely do not think that VV Orniteer is a problem in standard, I don't understand. I
Just
just
let us know in the comments below.
please, yeah, sound off in the comments.
Yeah.
We would appreciate it.
Yeah.
I'm curious your logic and reasoning because I do not believe you can make a compelling argument on that front. I don't think you can at this point. The case against VV is so strong, it's ridiculous.
Imagine the VV deck also being able to blow up lands.
Oh my goodness!
When
Let's
I
get
saw
out of
that
here with
price of
this.
full transparency, right? When I saw
Mhm.
that Price of Freedom card 3 weeks ago, because that's when I saw it, I was like,
Yeah,
there is no way they are letting that same deck be also to blow up lands and draw a card after the fact. Like, I know it doesn't
yeah,
just blow up the land. I'm very aware of the fact that this card says they can search for a basic. That very much matters against the decks that need the creature lands or the mana
yep,
fixing when we don't have all of the shock lands currently in standard, man. So if you just like, even against Golgari, blow up their Restless Cottage, great. Now they don't have a creature land to come at you with, which is generally safe from,
right.
the VV deck. Yeah.
I- oh my goodness. Yeah. Well, and I mean, earthbending is also going to be a thing. Although when you destroy an earthbent land, it comes
They get it
back.
back.
So
Yeah.
that's so you would be ramping them notably if they have the basic defined, but still.
Right.
And I am very glad this does say an opponent controls. If you could target your own lands with this, I mean, if you haven't seen the historic, cleansing wildfire with the indestructible,
Right.
like Darksteel Citadel, like the idea is you target your own indestructible lands and you go search for a basic and your land doesn't actually get destroyed. So you
Right.
can
So
use
you
that to
ramp.
like,
Yeah.
so it's rampant growth that replaces itself in your hand in that situation, which is silly. I'm glad we don't have things like that in standard with this, which
Yeah.
would not be that hard to tee up, I don't think. Yeah, especially in Gruul with earthbending, because if you could earthbend your own thing and then blow it up with this, have the land come back and then go get another one, and that's
Yeah.
triggering landfall payoffs the whole time, like there could be some really frustrating loops with that, I think.
Yeah.
So fortunately, they solved for that, but still, I mean, this is a lesson. I mean, so accumulate wisdom is basically impulse with upside as a lesson. This looks very similar to a cleansing wildfire, like a braid kind of thing with upside as a lesson. I feel like there was a time when you compare this to the lessons from the OG Strixhaven, like those lessons were all very expensive for what you got, and they weren't really playable as
By
their
themselves.
own. Yeah, by themselves. Like, elemental summoning isn't a card you're putting in your deck. it's a 5 drop that just makes a 4/4 token at sorcery speed. Like you don't play that as a spell. This is something that you pull out of your sideboard when you just need a body. And so it was designed to do that. And work in that context. These lessons are clearly designed in an environment where learn is not a thing. Because like abandoned attachment, like this is an arguably better thrill of possibility, because if it gets countered, you don't have to discard.
Right.
And thrill of possibility was already fine. I mean, granted, there are so many like better variants now, but I mean, at the end of the day, like that's a perfectly playable, excellent effect. And this is also a hybrid mana, so you could play it as blue or red. So like instant speed Charta Course is also like, which, not quite what this is, but in any event, yeah, these cards are already good and playable, and they happen to be lessons. So these lesson payoffs are all of a sudden looking pretty reasonable. And I'm also curious in, in like Pioneer or Historic, is there going to be some kind of lesson deck that also leverages the Learn package from Strixhaven? Now that we have a ton more stuff to put in the toolbox.
We had the one blue card that was in Strixhaven that was banned in Standard.
I do remember.
What was that card
Divide
called?
by Zero.
5x0. There you go.
Oh, Divide by Zero. This thing was a menace, man. Yeah. Instant for 2 and a blue. Return a spell or permanent with mana value 1 or greater to its owner's hand, then learn. Yeah, it was. It was really nasty. It was kind of one of the nastier remand effects we've seen in a minute, and in decks that were trying to, Hullbreaker Horror, or like Lear. Alden's Epiphany was the other piece of that whole thing. The Is It Dirtlefest deck was very real, and it sucked. And Divide by Zero was a key part of it. And Divide by Zero would go find Mascot Exhibition as like one of the only finishers in some variants of the deck, and that was. Man, that was the Standard Ladder on Arena was not a fun place for that little minute. Yeah.
Speaking of Mascot Exhibition, I did happen to find one of mine today because I was looking for a Mascot Exhibition for my Iroh Grand Lotus Commander deck that I'm building.
Heck yeah.
And I'm like, I know I have these cards.
Right.
This card is great.
Oh yeah, absolute classic. Wild, absolute wild. Absolutely wild.
Now, question: when we were last talking, had Shared Roots been previewed yet?
I don't think so.
I don't think so. Right? That is, and I'm not that I'm going to stay on a tangent about Shared Roots because I think a lot of talk has been out there about this card. Right? It's essentially rampant growth. Right? Search a library for a basic land, put it on the battlefield tapped. The only other card we haven't had in Standard that we have in Standard that's similar to this is Glimpse the Core, which is only lets you search for a forest or cave. I'm sorry, only searches you for a forest, but has the ability to do something with a cave. And it's 2 mana. Yeah, basic forest card. Yep, or return target cave. Yeah,
from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. Yeah, so if a cave found its way into the graveyard, you could reanimate it with this, but otherwise it was just a basic forest. And so a rampant growth that can't fix your mana is so much worse than a rampant growth that can.
Sure.
Yeah.
And I mention this because ramp decks have not been playable in Standard for a couple sets now. VV, Corey Steelcutter being responsible for that. But the last time we really saw like a ramp deck out there was when Smuggler's Surprise first came out, and that was more about trying to ramp so you can surprise kick and put or surprise spree. Sorry, everything is kicker to put things onto the battlefield. But I think, Avatar does give way for ramp decks to return. There is another card that works really well alongside of this, also a lesson. It's called Elemental Teachings, and it's a rare, and it is instant speed ramp. So for 4 colorless and a green, you get at instant speed. You search your library for up to 4 land cards with different names. An opponent chooses 2 of them. Put the chosen cards into your graveyard, and then the rest onto the battlefield tapped, then shuffle. Now, this card can do a couple things for you. One, it gets 4 cards out of your deck guaranteed for 5 mana, right? And with cards like Shared Roots in Standard, you don't have to wait until turn 5 to cast this card. Obviously, you're going to be able to cast it quicker. Couple cards that work really well with this in Standard. Lumra, which reanimates all the lands that are in your graveyard for 6 mana. So that can go into this sort of deck. Um, you also have the fact to ramp two lands. So imagine this. Imagine playing like Llanowar Elves on one, Rampant Growth plus tap land on three. I'm
Mm-hmm.
sorry, Shared Roots. Shared Roots
Yeah, shared
plus
roots and a
tap land
yeah,
on
and a
three.
tap land
So
on two.
that gets
Yeah,
you land, tap land, the Shared Roots land plus Llanowar Elves. That means if you untap, draw land on turn three, you've got 5 mana and you can cast this card, right? Which then gets you 2 more lands guaranteed. So on turn four, you have 7 mana guaranteed. That's the math.
nuts.
So any payoff that you want to play for 7 mana is very doable. So the question is, what do you want that card to be? Do you just want to play cards like Lumra? Do you want to play cards like Dragonback Assault? Which
Ooh, yeah,
the more you can search for any lands and put them on the battlefield, you're going to get triggers all over the place.
that's pretty sick.
Um,
Yeah,
do you want to ramp to Doppelgang? Uh,
I mean, I know you
that's
do.
me.
Yeah.
That's what I want to be doing. I can Doppelgang a sure of hell a lot
Oh,
faster, and I can Doppelgang your cards. Doesn't even have to be my cards.
it's true.
Um, so whatever you want your payoff spell to be, it can be. Um, you can search
Mhm.
for creature lands with that 5 mana card. Like it's really good.
Oh
Um,
yeah, and
it
I'd also.
reminds me. Go ahead.
Oh no, I mean you mentioned Lumra, but Aftermath Analyst is still legal. I know that card
Yeah,
fell out of favor, but it is still around, and we also have Ice Tail Explorer now too. So like the
we do.
graveyard lands and graveyards are wide open right now. They're still absolutely accessible. So yeah. Anyway, just wanted to throw that out there because
Um,
this is
the card that this really reminds me of was originally an Hour of Devastation, and it was called Hour of Promise. I'm not sure
mm,
if you remember this card, but it was also standard playable
yep.
back in the day. It was a 5 mana sorcery that said search your library for up to 2 land cards, put them on the battlefield, tap them, shuffle, and then if you had desert, you got to make 2/2/2 black zombies. But the fact that
Hmm.
this you were able to during that standard to go from 3 mana to 5 mana fairly quickly to 7 mana is the same premise. And you're talking about this was a 4x of a card in a standard ramp deck at the time. So
Right.
for me, being able to play that at instant speed and fill my graveyard up with 2 additional cards, get 2 additional cards out of my deck just means I'm closer to whatever my payoff is. That's something
Hmm.
Hour of Promise didn't do. So I think that card's more powerful than this, and at instant speed makes it much more worth it.
Yeah, I think it's from a standard perspective, 100%. Oh my goodness. The one difference that the one scenario where I do think Hour of Promise still is better is just in older formats where you want to find specific like lands for combo purposes. Like
Yeah,
that's the one thing. But
yeah,
obviously that's not with elemental teachings, the fact that you do not get to pick which two are on the battlefield versus which two are in the graveyard, like that does, so if you're going to try to do some dark depths, or like Lotus Field shenanigans, like maybe not, it's that you might not be able to pull that off if your opponent's paying attention. Yeah.
also is going to be really good when in Lorwyn Eclipse the other 5 shock lands re-enter standard, because then I could
Mm-hmm.
just play a 5 color ramp deck and I can search for different shock lands,
Yeah, for the shocks, which colors do you want to give me?
the
Yeah.
shocks and the surveil lands, and just search for them and fix my mana the best way possible.
I
Then
love
see
that.
what type of 5 color card I can cast.
Heck yeah, I'm here for that. Yeah, and I think at the end of the day, in a ramp deck like that, in a deck that is all in on generating a ton of mana, a 5-drop instant is not that big of a deal. Like 5-drop is like, it's funny when I look at fives, I just assume like, oh, that's unplayable. Just not remembering that, like, well, in a world where we have Llanowar Elves and now shared roots, like getting to
Yeah,
5 mana by turn 3 is not going to be that hard. Like, not really, or at least it's going to happen with some consistency.
yeah.
And so, yeah, so 5 mana is totally on the table. Yeah, interesting, good stuff. Yeah, I like this one. And again, just these lessons are good. I feel like that's the takeaway
Yeah.
consistently. All right. Okay. So there's one card that I know is eye catching. To the point where like I know a handful of people who are only like vaguely aware of this set who talk about this card specifically, and I want to get your thoughts. I want to talk about the Walls of Ba Sing Se. This is a legendary artifact creature wall, so this can be your commander. Fun fact. It is an 8-drop colorless. It has Defender, and it gives other permanents you control indestructible. And it is a 0/30. It's a
Yeah.
splashy card. The number is very big. Do we like this?
So when I saw this card a couple weeks ago,
Mm-hmm.
the first place my mind went was to Ancient Adamantoise from Final Fantasy, because I
Mm-hmm.
think that's the biggest butt that we've seen so far in terms of that card is an 8/20 and it's also 8 mana, right? It's 5 triple green or 4
Right.
triple green, I forget. But yeah, Ancient Adamantoise, 5 triple green.
Yeah,
So same mana
five trips
cost as this
green.
card. It's an
Mm-hmm.
8/20 Vigilance Ward. And then when this thing dies, you make infinite treasure tokens.
Basically.
Um, so Walls of Ba Sing Se doesn't do all of that. It's just a strict 0/30.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but gives your other permanents indestructible. So the question is, can you take advantage of this card in standard? Um, what type of standard deck would want this? Is there anything in standard that says one, your creatures can attack as though they didn't have defender, and that they deal damage equal to their toughness? Does that exist in standard? The answer is yes, it
Mm-hmm.
does. Right? There's a couple cards that do that, and I think the one card name is escaping me at the moment.
Well, we have like Bedrock Tortoise is one of them. This
Yes.
one.
Yeah.
Well, this
Hmm.
one allows your creatures with greater toughness to deal damage based on it. Although this one does not free up defenders. And I know, but
Right.
yeah, Edge of Eternity's had another one as well that could do something similar.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's like a four. It's a 4 mana card from Edge of Eternities,
Mm-hmm.
if I'm not mistaken, and it's like 2 double green. Um, Geez, I forget the name now, but they're yes, correct. It's a 2 double green card that does this. So, is it worth it to play that type of a card in standard? And is that the only payoff? There you go. I'm sorry, 3 and a
Tapestry
green.
Warden.
Yep, yep.
Yeah, yeah.
So is it worth it to play Walls of Bossing, say, to potentially have it attack your opponent?
I mean, honestly, as far as standard is concerned, I think a resounding no. Like, yeah. I mean, if you're getting benefit from other permanents having indestructible, I mean, this is kind of like a quasi Darksteel reactor. Like, okay, that's neat. And like, it does negate one attacker every turn pretty cleanly. So like, okay, that's not nothing, but is that 8 mana, value? Yeah. Oh yeah, I'm
Yeah,
not feeling it, if I'm
I don't
honest.
see the value in standard at all, unless they end up
Mm-hmm.
printing a card that lets me fling a card at you and you take damage equal to its toughness
Right.
rather than its power. Then yeah, I mean, I would try that jank personally.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
The card's
Yeah.
definitely commander playable,
Oh my goodness, yeah. I mean,
right? There's tons of
every
things to let
Felithar
you play.
deck, every Arcades deck, all of those, easy. Yep, absolutely.
Betor, you could play it in the
Yep,
Betor deck.
yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
any type of deck that you care about your things being indestructible. Any artifact based deck that's letting you put artifacts into play essentially for free,
Yeah,
or for cheaper cost.
or anything that's
This definitely
reducing.
fits into, yeah.
Yeah, anything that's reducing costs. I mean, okay. What about the Teamer Battlecrier deck? Because this could become free in that deck. Would that be worth it as maybe a sideboard card, like as board wipe insurance or something?
It can become free. I am curious what you do with it after, because it can't attack.
I mean, it just kind of chills. Yeah, exactly.
Just chills.
Just
Yeah.
chilling.
I almost like with the Teamer Battle Crier deck prefer to like treat that deck as a Splinter Twin, right? With Devastating
Yeah,
Onslaught and Railway Brawler. Just seeing like how quick you could pull something like that off.
yeah. I suppose by
Yeah.
the time this would be free, that deck should already win. So yeah, you're not really getting the value out of it. Hmm. But yeah, so I feel like this one is so I appreciate that this reminded you of the Adamantoys. This one reminded me a lot of Cherix, the Raging Isle, which is just a
Hmm.
014 for 4. And it has some other text on it, but let's be real, it's just a 0 or it was
Right.
017. It's just a 017 for
017.
4. That's the thing that we liked about it, right? Like nobody's paying the activation cost on that. And so
Yeah.
that reminded me very much of that, where it's just like this has just an obnoxious stat line just to have an obnoxious stat line. And like,
Yeah.
okay. And I love Cherix. I definitely played Cherix in a number of things. Um, but like the
You
card's
have a
not
Cherix
good.
Brawl deck, don't you?
I did for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even with that Cherix Brawl deck, I literally included every single crab card or card that could create a crab token. But then I just ended up putting in mono blue good stuff, and it just was a mono blue good stuff deck that, it's like I was winning off
Yeah.
Kiora Best of Sea God, not off of, Rising Tide or whatever. So like
Right.
it just, yeah. Um, so anyway, so I took that deck apart because it didn't feel like it was showcasing Cherix at all. Because
Hmm.
building Cherix as a commander is really problematic and tough. Because like being stuck to blue but having a big toughness is very
Yeah.
awkward. Yeah. So yeah, decks like Arcades and other toughness matters, commanders are the ones that want to put Cherix in the 99. That's usually
Hmm.
where this thing lives. But like this lived the whole rotation through standard, and I was on Arena almost every day, and I think I saw one person other than me actually
Yeah.
like play it. Like it just didn't see play in standard at all, and it shouldn't have. I'm just like I think it was correct not to. Um, yeah, because
Okay.
leviathans and crabs weren't a thing at the time. Yeah, and so
No,
well,
but hey, you
yeah,
can play the Final
some
Fantasy
leviathan,
card now,
yeah,
some
yeah,
Leviathan, and
some
Cherix doesn't
leviathan
get
chokes
bounced.
chills, doesn't go
Yeah.
anywhere. I love that. Yeah, as somebody, honestly, I'm back to Smoker Surprise Leviathan as my standard ladder deck.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
back on
great.
that train, and I love it. It's so good. It's like, why did I ever stop? I don't know. It's just I'm
Yeah.
not having fun with other decks. Why aren't I just playing this? I will from now on. It's great. So yeah, so Walls of Bossing Say feels very similar to that kind of janky nonsense, where it's like this is fine, but yeah. Um,
You wanna hear about some janky nonsense that might
ooh,
be
I
a
love
little
me some
bit more
janky nonsense.
playable?
I have an idea. I have a theory where you're going, but what you got?
I, I'm looking at the Phoenix Fleet Airship.
Yeah, you are.
Uh, this card is two double black. It is a vehicle that if it turns into a creature, it's 4/4 flying. At the beginning of your end step, if you sacrifice a permanent this turn, create a token that's a copy of this vehicle. And then as long as you control 8 or more permanents named Phoenix Fleet Airship, this vehicle is an artifact creature. And it's only got a crew cost of 1. So, any tokens that you have can just crew this 4/4 and attack with it. The problem is you need to try to sacrifice a permanent during the turn
Mm-hmm.
to make a copy of this, right? So it's
Right.
very strong in terms of it being a 4/4 4/4 vehicle crew 1 with flying. That is
Yeah.
very strong of a card. Where my mind goes is towards some jank, and that is either casting Doppelgang, which you know of already,
Heck yeah.
or even better, Devastating Onslaught from Edge of Eternities, because Devastating Onslaught allows you to make copies of a creature or artifact. So if you can X large enough to create a bunch of copies of Phoenix Fleet Airship, ideally you have a Splinter Twin scenario on your hand, because then you generate all these copies of Fleet Airship, and you attack and win the game because they all have haste. Um, so I think that is pretty cool. And if you don't win the game and you have the original that hasn't died, you sacrifice the other ones,
Mm-hmm.
so you do get to make a copy of the airship anyway at your end step. Um,
Do you
I think for
sacrifice?
this,
Do you sacrifice
you
with the end step?
sacrifice at the end step. Yeah, I
Oh, so
think
I don't
so.
think I don't. I think you'd have to sacrifice one to another effect. But that's the thing. If you
Oh
sacrifice,
yeah,
yeah, because this triggers at the beginning of the end step. So, but if you meet the requirement, so if you sacrifice something, um, on that turn that you popped off, maybe correct a fabled passage at the beginning or something,
oh right. Hmm.
or a treasure token or something like that, and you have all those tokens down, they would all trigger on your end step
Yeah,
before you sacrifice them, so you'd get copies of all of them, and
yeah,
those ones would stick around, which that's dope.
yeah.
So
Um,
I'm here for this.
my other sort of like non-janky take on this card is that
Mm-hmm.
obviously it's really good with Llanowar Elves
Yep.
considering it's a 1 mana 1/1. You can play
Yeah.
this earlier, and you can crew the Llanowar Elf on the airship and attack your opponent in the air. Seems pretty
Bam.
reminiscent of the 2 mana mythic from Kaladesh, Hearts of Kirin, maybe it was called,
Ooh,
that had a
yeah.
very cheap crew cost. I mean, granted, that was a very different card, very different mana cost, and stuff like that. But having your already playable 1/1 that ramps you into playing this card seems pretty
Oh
good to
yeah.
me.
Absolutely. Yeah, it reminds me kind of like Dread Feast Demon.
Oh yeah.
But it's way cheaper and you don't
Hmm.
have to sacrifice the thing to create the copy. They're incidental, so you're not going down on cards that way. And
Hmm.
yeah, so I get a kick out of this. And it's also exponential, because the copies do create copies of the copies.
Right.
Uh so that could get out of hand relatively quickly if left unchecked.
Hmm.
Um it's a slightly slower like Scoot Swarm situation, which is
Yeah.
I mean, that's good.
That hopefully won't break the arena client.
There's a will, there's a way. We'll figure it out. Yeah. The other thing outside of standard that I want to do with this in Commander, or maybe even in historic, is or is it in historic? Mechanized production. Um
Oh yeah. Hmm.
so like mechanized production is an aura where you enchant it on an artifact. At the beginning of your upkeep, you make a token that's a copy of it, but when you have 8 or more of that artifact, you win the game. And so
Oh yeah.
yeah, this already spots you 1, but if you're matching that requirement, like within 1 or 2 turns, you can get to 8 really quickly. So that could get that might be a fun way to kind of cheese that. Not that we need, I mean, mechanized production could literally go on to a treasure token, so you can do a lot with this, but regardless, that's
I
another
do love
option.
my alternate win cons.
Oh, same. I mean, nothing wrong with that. But yeah, so I see opportunity there. And I'm here for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's actually another card that was previewed that was mechanically doing something like, I don't know. It's slightly. I think it's somewhat similar. Nowhere near as good, but the design is weird, so I want to talk about it.
Mhm.
G, one of many. This is a human advisor. It's a 2/2 for 2, 1 and a black, and you can pay a black, tap, surveil 1, and then create a token that's a copy of this creature. Then sacrifice an artifact or creature, but you can activate it only as a sorcery. And so you can just make this clone army of these little surveil. Like you can just turn anything into a 2/2 that can like reproduce itself. It's just I don't think the card's particularly strong because you're having to invest mana and you're having to tap it in order to like make the copies. But like, what?
So again, little fun fact of me.
Yeah.
So I had just gotten to the point. So I opened this card out of a
Mm-hmm.
booster pack a couple weeks ago. And I was like, why is Judy one of many? I hadn't
Mm-hmm.
reached that point in the Avatar series. I was in the process of watching
Yeah.
it. And I'm like, why is Judy one of many? Like, this has got to be some type of spoiler for me to what's to
Sure.
come. And of course, I got to the episode where not all the Judys were the same. And I'm like, oh, I see what's happening here. Now this card makes sense to me. And it also makes sense to me why it's not legendary. Because a
Mm-hmm.
lot of the characters in the Avatar set are legendary, right? Especially if they're iconic
Yeah.
characters. And so I'm like, okay, well now this makes sense to me because there are many
Yeah.
Judys. Yeah,
Yeah, and you don't see named characters that aren't legendary very often in Magic at all. And yeah, we have
yeah,
that here. And it's not a mistake. Like that's
right,
absolutely correct. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
So I,
rules.
I think this card is
Oh,
like probably okay and limited, right? I
sure.
have to imagine. I can't imagine it's very standard playable, but the fact of you being able to play a 2/2 that you can copy, then sacrifice an artifact or creature. I don't know.
Yeah, I
Like,
mean,
there's got to
as
be
a
some
sack
some
outlet,
limited
it's
synergy with it. Yeah,
yeah. Yeah, there's got as a sack outlet and limited. I would imagine if you can get this and the sandbenders, in a
hmm,
draft deck, that could be pretty good. So
yeah.
there's probably something there. Yeah.
Yeah,
Very
there's also
cool.
that common pirate, not to like stay on it, but there's a common pirate. I think it's called Pirate Peddlers.
Oh
It's
yeah.
like a 2/2 death touch guy, and it cares about you sacrificing permanents.
Yeah, 2/2 for
Oh
3.
yeah, that is.
Whenever you sacrifice another permanent, you put a 1/1 counter on this creature. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, as a draft common, that's rock solid. Yeah,
Yes.
they're definitely pushing the sacrifice theme in limited, no question about it.
And so interestingly enough, I really like how they designed that card alongside of the Sandbender Scavengers that we mentioned
Mm-hmm.
a little while ago, because
Yeah,
they, the +1/+1 counter on your creatures that are also like villainous thematically in the show, right? The pirate peddlers, I don't know if they're actually villains. They kind of just work for themselves. But the
yeah.
Sandbender Scavengers aren't exactly villains either, but they're rude as fuck. Excuse me for
You're good.
stealing
It's
Appa,
fair. You're just
which is bullshit.
agreed.
And yeah, so I don't know if they are technically villainous, but they weren't exactly very friendly.
Yeah, they definitely were antagonistic in that
Yeah,
situation, 100%. Well, and I mean, the pirates definitely like they're doing some unsavory things, but at the same time, like I also just appreciate the fact that when you first meet them, like Katara immediately steals something from them. So like
skills.
right away, it was like the good guys are like being
They just
dicks to
wanted
the
their
pirates.
their stuff back. It's like, why'd
Yeah,
you
it's like, oh,
steal this?
we've identified who you are, and we understand that you're okay with this kind of behavior, so we're just gonna give it to you, and that's just how
Huh?
this works. Like, I'm not mad at that. Yeah, good stuff. Oh my goodness. Yeah. So were there any other Avatar spoilers that you were hoping to touch on while we're here? Because there's a ton.
Yes.
Yeah.
To talk about one of the lands, so obviously there is a
Mm.
monocolored land cycle in this set. They are not basic land typed, but they care about you controlling basic lands. I think we went over one a while ago, but the one I really want to touch on is one that was previewed last, which is
Hmm.
Abandoned Air Temple.
Yeah.
Abandoned Air Temple is a land that enters tapped unless you control basic. It taps for a white, or you could pay 3 colorless and a white, tap it to put a +1/+1 counter on each creature you control. So when I saw this card, I was like, there's no way they let us have Gavany Township back in standard. That card was so playable. And that was a card from, OG Innistrad that you would pay 2 colorless, a green, and a white to put a counter
Hmm.
on each of your creatures. And it only tapped for colorless, so it didn't add to any color combination of what you needed. Um, so Abandoned Air Temple, well, I do take issue for one moment.
Oh.
Thematically, these lands should be legendary, right? Because it's not like there's more than one abandoned. I mean, there is technically more than one abandoned air temple in Avatar, right? Because
Yeah.
that you encounter more than one because the airbenders are gone. But the green one is literally bossing Say, right?
Right.
And it says the land enters tapped unless you control basic. It taps for a green, or you could pay 2 colorless and a green Earthbend 2 at sorcery speed. Also a
Hmm.
pretty sweet card mechanically.
Oh
There's
yeah.
only one bossing Say.
Correct.
So I don't know why these lands aren't legendary. I like, from a magic perspective, me playing with the cards, that they are not legendary. I love that very much.
Hmm.
But thematically, it would have made sense to me if they were legendary. Does that make sense?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, yeah. No,
And I know
I'm
we
with
have
you
a
on that.
ton of I know we have a ton of legendary things, period, in a lot
Yeah.
of the universes beyond IPs. But if you were to make one thing legendary, it would have to be like the name of the city, right?
Yeah. Well, and so they could have easily renamed it. I mean, like something like so Abandoned Air Temple, the name at least, like okay, the artwork clearly depicts the one that the
Yes.
like I don't remember if that was the Northern Air Temple or regard like
Mhm.
there's like it depicts the one that they visit in the show. Okay, fine. Um but like the name Abandoned Air Temple, that there are multiple in the world, so okay, that's vague enough. But yeah, Bossing Say, they could have I mean, they could have also just named this like Earth Kingdom City. And the artwork could clearly be Bossing Say, but like,
Yes. Yeah.
um but they could have kind of white labeled it a little bit to make it feel not legendary.
Yeah.
That was an option. But they
Um
didn't. So here we are. Yeah.
yeah, this card is very playable, Abandoned Air Temple.
Yeah.
I see you being able to play this in any like white based aggressive deck.
Hmm.
You're probably playing basic planes. It might be too much of a restriction in the sense that it enters tapped unless you control an actual basic. There are
Hmm.
lots of basic land typed cards from shock lands to surveil lands. Um, but if you were playing aggressively, like I could see this card going in like the mono white life gain deck that exists, the Orzhov
Hmm.
life gain deck that already plays your basic planes because of the Verge requires you to have a basic planes or swamp
Yep.
out. Um, it definitely could benefit from giving plus one counters to your team. Um, so I'm. It also works really well with Uroboroid, which
Oh,
I think is a fantastic Magic card.
it's so
Um,
good.
and even though the Simic aggro deck is really like at the height of being like a very powerful standard deck,
Hmm.
maybe you can play a Selesnya plus one counters deck with Ouroborid, and you can ramp just as fast and put more counters on Ouroborid and play it with Innkeeper's Talent and all of the fun stuff.
Oh yeah.
Um, I think this slots in there pretty well.
Oh, absolutely. Well, and I know I've definitely seen people still rocking the like Selesnya cage, and
Yeah,
like some people still hold it down for bunnies, which nothing but love there. Like this could any of these white aggro decks,
yeah,
this thing's gonna be good. Absolutely. Yeah, because I mean the idea of once your board is established, being able to have that final hit, being able to add 3 or 4 easily to that final hit for the equivalent of 5 mana, 4 and tapping this land. Sometimes that's exactly what you need. And having
yeah.
that in your back pocket is just, yeah, is awesome. So, yeah, I'm with you. I think that's quite strong. Yeah, freaking Ouroboros, because that needs more help. But yeah,
Yeah, why not? Why
this is coming
not?
from the guy who the one standard deck I own in paper runs Ouroboros and City's Roots. I get it. No judgment. Yeah, big fan. But yeah,
Now,
so I think that whole cycle is pretty cool. And yeah, Abandoned Air Temple does it quite good.
now, a question for you.
Yeah,
Do you like flyers?
I do. I
Yeah.
enjoy flyers very
So
much.
obviously we've seen Momo, right? We've
Mm-hmm.
talked about Momo here. There are different types of Momo in the set, right? There's the rare one, there's the uncommon one. Um,
Yep.
but another card that reminds me of a previous standard playable card is Air Nomad Legacy. It is an uncommon. In this set, it is a white and a blue mana for an
Mm-hmm.
enchantment that when it enters, you create a clue token, and then creatures you control with flying get +1/+1.
I love those.
Um, this matters for a couple different reasons, not just because of the bunch of flyers that are in the Avatar set, but like it works really well with your 1 mana flyers from Lost Caverns of Ixalan. I'm thinking
Yep.
about the 1 mana 1/1 flying lifelink bat,
Mm-hmm.
um, for example. It works really well with any flying 1/1 spirit tokens that you make. Um, as well as the drones that are created off of some of the cards from Edge of Eternities. They are 1/1
Yep.
flyers that can only block creatures with flying. Um, and it's cheap, so you could build just like a generally cheaper aggressive deck. Um, it also surprisingly makes Spyglass Siren better
Even better.
from
Yeah.
Ixalan, right? You could play
Yep.
Spyglass Siren on one, get a map. Then you could play Land Air Nomad Legacy on two, get Clue. Guy is now 2/2 flyer, swing for
Mm-hmm.
two. And so you can play cards like Synthesizer Lab Ship or
Oh
Synthesizer
yeah.
whatever ship
Yeah.
from Edge of Eternities
Mm-hmm.
that turns your artifacts that are created off of cards like this and Spyglass
Dude.
Siren into flyers.
An artifact twist on Azoria's flyers. I love this. That sounds awesome, actually.
And
Yeah.
fun fact from Edge of Eternities, there was the Lumen flagship. Hold on,
Oh
Lumen
yeah. Yeah, Lumen class frigate or whatever.
class frigate. Yeah, maybe that's what
Something
it
like that.
is.
Yeah, Lumen class frigate.
Yeah.
Another.
So
Yeah.
this pumps your creatures, and it is a
Mm-hmm.
flyer when it has its full thing on. But this card already works with the synthesizer lab ship. And so playing more artifacts that then can be animated off the flagship and get or lab ship or whatever, and then Be larger. It
I love
all
this.
works for me.
It does.
It
I'm,
all
you
works
know,
for me, and
the only thing we're missing, only thing this package is missing, ornithopter. Because
oh,
if
that's
you're
right.
having all these
Ornithopter's
things
not standard
that are
anymore.
buffing it, it's a free flyer. Why not? Anyway, um, I'm gonna just dream about a
Yeah,
standard with ornithopter in it. That's all. Yeah.
yeah. There's a lot of sweet cards in standard right now that work with this card in particular.
I love it.
Um, so I am curious, how we eventually get there. Maybe it makes cards like Thopter Fabricator from Aether Drift finally playable. Um, that was a 3-mana vehicle. It's a
Oh
4/4
wow.
flyer. Cruise only for 2. So obviously that enchantment helps you do that. But it says when you draw
Mm-hmm.
your second card each turn, you make a 1/1 Thopter with flying.
And you're running Enduring Curiosity, assuming it doesn't get banned on Monday. So that's the because
Right?
yeah, I mean, so this you're gonna be hitting this constantly. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I like
Wow.
all of
Yeah.
these cards.
I'm digging this. I'm a sucker for Azorius Flyers. It's my like one of my favorite archetypes as far as like aggro goes. Um to this day, my like the one typal deck that I have in Commander, out of like 25 decks, I only have one that's actually typal themed, and it's birds.
Mm,
So the idea of like coastal piracy effects and these like favorable wind style effects, I'm so on
yeah.
board. I love it. I think this is
And
I think this could be excellent.
I think favorable wins was last legal, it looks like in OG Ixalan. Um And that was a 2-mana card that
Mm-hmm.
gave creatures with flying +1/+1. Granted,
Yeah,
it's harder to cast this blue-white card, but when it
sure.
gives you an artifact that lets you interact in other
I mean,
ways,
this one replaces itself once you spend 2 more mana. Like that's
if we want to get extra frisky, I can play Zoetic Glyph, also from Lost Caverns of Ixalan, on the artifact that this creates.
I love
Granted,
that.
it doesn't give it
Doesn't
flying, but
fly,
if
but
I
that's fine.
discover 3, I'm going to hit any of my cards that do something else in the deck.
Right.
Um, you know,
That's silly, and I love it.
It
Well, and
also
and
all
also,
of those cards work incredibly well with Warden of the Inner Sky because then you could tap the
yep.
artifacts that are created off of these creatures and
And then it
yeah,
will eventually get flying and get nuts little extra boost off of, yeah.
yep.
Oh, that's yeah. I yeah. Air Nomad Legacy.
I love me standard playable uncommons. Just saying.
Agreed. Yes. Ultimately I think that's how you really reduce the price of standard. Is create archetypes where you could play low rarity cards.
Yeah.
You know? That's exactly how you do it. Heck yeah.
Yeah.
And Azorius Flyers and like Red Deck Wins are some of the primo examples of that.
We won't
Sorry.
mention the red
Well,
decks here.
yeah. Nowadays, that's I don't know if that's true, but oh, all right. Let's see what else we got while we're here. I really appreciate the ones that you've highlighted so far. These have all been excellent. Um, let's see. There's a
The other
there's a
card
new. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Yeah.
the other card that's probably I don't want to say it's busted. I don't think it's busted. The card's very good. It's a black card. It's called Obsessive Pursuit. Um, it is reminiscent of another really kind of busted standard legal card. Obsessive Pursuit is 1 and a black. It's an enchantment that when it enters, and at the beginning of your upkeep, you lose a life and create a clue token.
Mm,
Right? So
okay.
it's when it enters, does this, and Bitter Blossom do this. Okay?
Right.
Then it says whenever you attack, put X+1/+1 counters on target attacking creature, where X is the number of permanents you've sacrificed this turn. If
Ooh.
X is 3 or greater, that creature gains lifelink until end of turn.
Oh,
So you
dude.
remember
We were
so
just talking about this.
you remember how I talked about like playing that Orzhov card, the
Yup.
Sandbenders in a sacrifice deck. Not saying it
Mm-hmm.
necessarily goes in the same, but it just works really well together with the same cards that you want to sacrifice. So like greedy freebooter that gets you an artifact
Mm-hmm.
after, the insect guy that gets you another insect after. Something that replaces itself with another thing that you can sacrifice because Umbral Caller Zealot, also from Edge of Eternities,
Yup.
lets you sacrifice an artifact to surveil one. And so that helps build upon that last ability of Obsessive Pursuit, because I
Mm-hmm.
can have, like, let's say this insect that's around after, or my Servandum, and just put a bunch of +1/+1 counters on it. Servandum already has lifelink. But to give something else lifelink, give Sephiroth. Why can't I put a bunch of +1/+1 counters on Sephiroth and then it gets lifelink?
I mean, why
Sack
not?
something else. Yeah. I mean, I really like this card. I think it's very
Mm-hmm.
powerful. I am not equating this card to Proph's Eidetic Memory, but it is reminiscent in the fact that it's a 2 mana enchantment
Mm-hmm.
that also puts X +1/+1 counters on something um,
Yeah.
and generates you something every turn. Um, with a clue
Well,
token to use some
yeah.
capacity.
And of all the things to get, I think a clue token is an excellent resource to get every turn, because if you need to draw extra cards, you can. You know, it costs a little extra mana. But if you're in that deck, one of the issues that I've seen right now with a lot of the variants that I've seen on the Sephiroth decks is if they get Voice of Victory, they're golden and everything's fine, because that card produces more material for them to sacrifice. And if they don't, it kind of sucks, because they
Yep.
just run out of gas so fast. This is giving something each turn, and it's increasing your power for having given you that something, you know? So
Yep.
the balance on this, like, because this itself is not sacrifice fodder, although I mean, you get it upon entering, so I guess it kind of is. Yeah, so it just, how many of these do you run? Yeah, whereas
Right.
like with profs, you run 4 easy all day, no question, because they're not bad multiples, and I think that card is just stronger. um but only because the thing you're doing is, like, when your option is to either draw cards or sacrifice stuff. Like, sacrifice stuff can be powerful. Drawing cards is always powerful, you know.
Yep.
So that just is what it is. But I like this. I think this is really cool. This is how a sacrifice deck does profs, and
Right.
that's great. Like, I think that's really cool. I dig it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I like it. Lots of
neat,
sweet
man.
cards in this set. And I
Yeah.
I really like, something hopefully that y'all have heard us reference is a lot of cards from Edge of Eternities that just work really well with the avatar cards.
Mm-hmm.
Um, you probably have heard me say something on a previous episode that the current standard sets aren't in order of the way that they were supposed to be released, and I was like very cautious about it, right?
Mm-hmm.
In the sense that, just to recap, not in full argument, but Lorwyn was supposed to originally be the last set of this year where Avatar is releasing, and Avatar would have come after the fact, and I was worried that cards from that are designed aren't going to work the way they're supposed to be designed. But in essence, what we are getting is that the Avatar cards are working with the Edge of Eternity cards much quicker than they would have if it was in the proper order. Even though
Right.
maybe not necessarily designed to be that way, right? Like, we don't obviously know what is in Lorwyn Eclipse outside of the first look, but I would bet some amount of money that, the synergies with Avatar weren't meant to happen in the order that they are, but they
Right.
are happening sooner. And hopefully, when they fix things on Monday, if they fix things, uh, these strategies become playable. Because you can play with them now. You can play the Orzhov sack deck, right? Or a
Oh,
mobilize
totally.
like variant of it. You can do it. I can't promise that you will be able to go to an RCQ, one that it fires, or two that you can win with it. But it's
Yeah.
something that's playable and hopefully more playable after the fact.
It's so depressing that that's the first question. It's like, hey, go to a standard event. Like, first question, do you get to play? Like, that's not a given, you know? So, not that it's ever a given in certain areas, but like, even in
Yeah.
ones where it really ought to be, it's just not right now. And that's, ugh. Yeah, that stinks. Um, yeah. But no, I think, yeah, the Orzhov sack deck looks a lot better.
Yeah.
It's getting some significant upgrades. Yeah, and we haven't even
Yeah.
talked about, like, well, we had talked about firebending previously. I'm very curious what the kind of nonsense that's going to get up to. There's no way that's not a deck. Um, also, there's another card that got spoiled at the end that is probably my favorite in the set. It's not good, but Boracupine is a thing.
Ah,
So we know,
yes. I
I know how we how we talked about Mr. Negative being Damien's, preview card. Like this is
Uh-huh.
a really prickly pig. I like this. That's how I feel not most days. I identify with this card. It's a 2/2 for 3. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, you put a 1/1 counter on it. So it's like a Spell Gorger weird. It's just a pig, and just that
Uh-huh.
makes me happy. That's all.
Yeah,
I like it.
definitely great and limited given what the Is It deck can do.
Mm-hmm. Well,
From
and with how many
how
instants are
well
running
that they
around.
work together. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, so no, it'll be a rock solid limited player, which is fun. I also just love how
Yeah.
pigs are showing up in like every set, just like as one-offs here and there. I love that boars are becoming a thing.
Yo, you
So
remember when
in
Alchemy?
yeah,
Not that many folks here might be following Alchemy. Remember Alchemy had all the pig cards in it?
I remember that. Yeah, the Wilds of Eldraine Alchemy had all the Three Little Pigs themed stuff.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
was
I do
great.
remember that. Yeah. And yeah, Lende Ham is actually was the name of the adventure on Porcine Portent.
Yeah, yep.
Which actually, this saw a significant amount of play in the
That
Alchemy
was played a
format, if I'm
lot.
not mistaken, which is
Hmm.
wild. Yeah, that was one where I often did. I don't do this anymore because it just proved to be irrelevant. There was a time when I would always keep one alchemy deck on me at all times because on my Twitch channel I will do viewer battle days, and just so in case someone challenges me to alchemy, I have one deck in my back pocket so that I'm ready to
Yeah,
go, with the understanding that it wasn't going to be good. And it was the Abzan Three Little Pigs deck because like it's pig themed. Of course I'm gonna do it.
yep.
And it was not great, but like they were fun and it played interestingly, and like it was a solid little mid-range deck. But yeah, I went like a year and a half without anyone challenging me, and so when it came time to like when the alchemy rotation happened, some cards in that deck got hit, and I was just like, I'm just not gonna worry about it. And it has not come up.
Yeah.
Surprise, surprise. But anyway, you
So,
guys remember
question for
alchemy?
you, and sort of
Yeah.
as maybe like a last preview that we'll talk about, because
Ooh.
for me, when I think Hamhawks 42,
Oh.
I think that you are a reanimator enjoyer.
I
And
am.
so I think, so not for nothing, first of all, y'all, if you have not watched Hamhawk streams, you need to tune in when
Oh
he's
yeah.
live because he's always playing different decks. That's me shilling, so Ham doesn't have to. But number
Respect. Thank you.
two, Ham always does the best when he plays reanimator style decks. I don't know what it
Dude,
is, but it's just up his alley.
it
So
is.
when
It
I
just fits.
saw this card previewed, I'm like, this is a Hamhawks 42 card.
Ooh.
And that
Ooh.
card is Avatar Destiny because it breaks the color pie rules. It is
What?
2 and 2 green. It is an enchantment aura, enchant creature you control. Enchanted creature gets +1/+1 for each creature card in your graveyard, and is an avatar in addition to its other types. And
Love
when
it.
the enchanted creature dies, mill cards equal to its power. Return this card to its owner's hand, and up to one target creature milled this way to the battlefield under your control.
I'm gonna go so hard
I
on
don't
this.
know any other green card that actually reanimates a creature, right? Like we're used to Smuggler Surprise that
Right.
lets you mill and put the cards in your hand, and maybe you get to
Yeah.
put them from your hand onto the battlefield. But
Mm-hmm.
personally, I don't know of many green cards that actually reanimate a creature directly from the graveyard to the battlefield. So when I say it
Yeah.
breaks the color pie, I'm like, well, this kind of does that.
A
And
little bit.
it rewards you for self milling, right?
Mm-hmm.
So you like to play cards like Insidious Roots, and
I
I
love
think
it.
this card works well in Insidious Roots because you can play Molt Tender to help you ramp,
Mm-hmm.
fill up your yard. You want to be putting cards from your deck into your graveyard anyway, and you want to be pulling cards from the graveyard to other places, and this lets you
Right.
do all of that. Like,
It's perfect.
imagine your useless Molt Tender on the battlefield, and you slam Avatar Destiny onto it with 5 creatures in the graveyard. Now you've got a 6/6 Molt Tender that hopefully you mill over some big creature like, I don't know, Craterhoof Behemoth with Insidious Roots, and then you get to reanimate the Craterhoof Behemoth right away,
That
and you
seems
get the
good.
Avatar Destiny back to your hand
I
with all
love
of
that.
these plant tokens that Insidious Roots has just created. To me, that seems like a Hamhawks 42 card. I don't
A
know
hundred
about you.
percent. Oh, I'm gonna get weird with this. Well, and I'm gonna throw this into decks that have sacrifice effects, so I can loop it and just like hit it
Yeah.
time and time again. It's almost like I'm gonna play this like recurring nightmare is how I'm gonna use this, and it's gonna get nuts. And my
Yeah.
entire deck is gonna be eradicated real fast. So I'm gonna have to find ways to like recycle it. It's one of those where I will mill my entire deck out with this.
Yeah.
and I can't wait to. That's going to be so much fun.
Hmm.
Yeah, it actually reminds me a lot of Pattern of Rebirth. Like that's one of the first
Oh
things.
yeah.
It's Aura for 4, and when the enchanted creature dies, you search your library for a creature and put it on the battlefield. And so
Hmm.
in this case, yeah, we are reanimating. We are reanimating a creature, meaning it is coming from the graveyard, but it has to be among the cards we milled. And so
Yeah.
we can't grab one that's already there, so you can't tee it up the way you can other reanimation effects.
Right.
It's like if it would play the same if it said, well, almost the same. If it said, look at the top, X cards equal to the power, put one onto the battlefield and the rest in your graveyard. It's
Right.
similar. Granted, with Insidious Roots, the creature is seen going into the graveyard and coming out. Also matters for
Right.
like Conrad and older formats and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But you're exactly right. You've absolutely clocked it. I am so in on this. Yeah, I'm gonna go hard on this card.
Yes.
Um, yeah, this is an early access day one brew for sure. Yeah. Oh man, what can we? I'm wondering if I'm gonna have to have like 4 Darksteel Colossus in the deck just so that I don't mill myself out.
Yeah.
It might be one of
The,
those.
the the thing that came, like I said, to my mind the most is the Insidious Roots build with it, because you can
Mm-hmm.
play Town Greeter from Final Fantasy to self mill 4 and put the land in your hand, and then you
Yep.
get to play the Black Overlord, which is an
Yep.
avatar,
Yeah, it
and
is.
fill your yard, put things in your hand. So to me, I think the payoff is the small creatures with Craterhoof Behemoth, because you can keep playing the small creatures that self mill you, put this
Mm-hmm.
on a small creature, make it lethal when it swings, because now you've got all these cards in your graveyard, and if they kill it, you reanimate the Craterhoof Behemoth in some instance, or you find some way to sacrifice the thing that's the Avatar
Right.
Destiny, reanimate the Craterhoof Behemoth, and GG's with all these cheap creatures on the
Well,
battlefield.
I love the idea of going into combat, sending everything, and them lining up their blockers and then sacrificing at instant speed to pull out the Craterhoof Behemoth and just boost everything. Like
Right.
the Behemoth itself isn't attacking, but like who cares? It's more than enough. Like I
Yeah,
think
and
that'd be
there's so many
hilarious.
free sack outlets, right? So
Oh
I
my
mean, we've
goodness, yeah.
mentioned Umbral Color Zealot. So if you're playing
Mm-hmm.
Golgari Roots, that's letting you sacrifice your creature for no cost.
Yep.
Um,
Well, and I'm already running Ouroboros is already in that mix as like something that this could like reanimate easily. That's a powerful creature that can, you know, present a game-ending scenario if folks aren't careful. So,
Imagine
yeah.
putting Avatar Destiny onto the Ouroboros with 5 creatures in your yard. Just
This is
+6 the
disgusting.
team right away.
I
Craterhoof
love this
who? You
so
don't need
much.
Craterhoof Behemoth. You
Yeah, no, we're
just kill
fine.
him with the plant. Yeah.
So nuts. Oh my goodness. Yes, I'm gonna have a ton of fun with this. You're absolutely right. Yeah. Yep, but we are living in a standard environment right now where Sultai Reanimator is a thing. So like people are running Kaveru. So as a result, people are running Leyline of the Void and Rest in Peace everywhere. So we're
Yeah.
gonna have a plan for that, but we'll figure it out. Yeah,
Thankfully, green has an abundance of enchantment and artifact hate.
that is true, which is very handy.
You
So
know?
yeah, we have
Yeah.
Pick Your Poison, we have Heritage Wreck, we have Seed Chip Impact. We'll figure it out. Heck, we even have like Rex Sage, Scrap Shooter, all that action. So yeah, and those are more important in roots specifically. If we're going roots, this is a non-creature, so we need to be very careful about how many of those
Yeah.
we have.
Hmm.
But this could be worth it. You know, the
Yeah.
engine that this is creating could easily be worth it. Yeah, I dig it. Oh my
Just
goodness,
imagine like
amazing.
Ouroboros like in the picture for Avatar Destiny, and the Ouroboros is entering the Avatar state.
Oh,
Not
ooh, I
only
like
is
that.
that plant as big as a planet, but imagine this huge
Right.
plant now with glowing features on it entering the Avatar state, getting so angry.
I love that. I think I'm gonna have to go over to Moxfield and use the laser eye, like thing
Yeah,
to try to
yeah,
figure like what starts glowing on this thing if it's entering the avatar state. Yeah, I don't know, but
yeah.
oh my goodness, yeah, this
And
this
it's
is
so
wild and I
funny
love
too
it.
because, and not for nothing. So for those of you who are listening, and if you've ever tuned into my channel
Yeah,
on Twitch, I
another
have
Twitch stream that you need to follow: twitch.tv/CarloMTG. Like,
you
get out
know
there, do it.
I have an emote that we made a really long time ago for a long time viewer, and it was an emote that was based off of a card from New Capenna. That wasn't really like New Capenna based. It was called Avatar. Now I'm gonna be mad because I can't find the card. But it was an Avatar Mythic blue card from New Capenna, and the card is called. Oh, of course, it's not coming up now for me.
Is it
Um,
Avatar of Suffering? The
no, maybe
the
it's a
angel?
creature type Avatar. It's a
Okay.
blue guy, and he's like standing up tall, and he's got like laser beam coming out of his eyes.
All seeing
Oh, that
arbiter.
guy, All Seeing
Yeah,
Arbiter.
yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
so to me, this card looks like it has laser beams, or what is the avatar state, right? Is like sort of in this. So anytime I think of that, I go back to this. So I made an emote on my channel of a squirrel doing the all-seeing arbiter thing. So this is going to be the emote for entering
The avatar state.
the avatar state, and it's
I
just the
love it.
laser beams coming out of their eyes, and it's great.
I've seen that emote so many times. I did not realize it was based on this art. That's awesome.
Yes, yes. It was a combination. So this was for USG delivery.
Hmm.
Wanted an emote after him, but combined with I'm a Squirrel's emote. So that's how we got the squirrel. Plus, USG's favorite card at the time was All Seeing Arbiter. So
Nice.
what better way than a squirrel with laser beam coming from its eyes?
It's perfect.
Yeah,
And even without the context, it's just cool. So yeah,
yeah.
yeah, I'm here for it. Excellent. But yes, so yeah, entering the Avatar state or Avatar Destiny. That's gonna happen. We're doing it.
Hmm.
I'm excited. Can't wait. I'm also looking forward to all of the alters and fan arts showing different things in the background. I'm sure that's gonna be a thing.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, excellent. Oh, and there's a showcase version as well, which is freaking pretty. I do love these
Yes.
showcases that are the kind of like silhouettes with the really like sharp outlines. That's very much kind of in the style of the intro to the show. Like, I'm a big fan. I think they turned out great.
They are
Awesome.
great.
Cool. Well, I don't think there's any kind of Well, we talked about all the cards that can clone each other. So I don't know that we
Hmm.
have any doppelgang styles. Things that we didn't touch on already. Don't have a
Yeah, I mean
Fool's Carlo
there
card
is
just
just
yet.
the one uncommon that is clones things. It's called Ember Island Production. I don't know if we talked about it in the last episode. I don't think so.
I don't
But
think
yeah,
so.
Ember Island Production is three double blue. Choose one. Create a token that's a copy of target creature control, except it's a 4/4 and not legendary. So it
Ooh.
makes non-legendary copies of your legendaries, which is a recurring theme that we've been seeing a lot of recently. And
Mm-hmm.
then it says create a token that's a copy of target creature an opponent controls, except it's not legendary, and it's a 2/2 coward in addition to its other types. Um, so the fact
Love
that I
that.
can clone either of the creatures, make a non-legendary copy of it, and enter edit the power toughness is pretty cool.
No,
It
that's
does cost
great.
5 mana, so it's probably very playable in limited, not very playable in standard, but nonetheless, I do like my create a token copy cards.
Right, I'm with you on that. Yeah, I don't think it's going to be constructed playable in standard, but I also want this in commander just because like really cool commanders are just a thing, and so being able to have one that has
Yep.
whatever other abilities on it, and either you double up on yours or you steal one of your opponents, like neat. And if you're in blue and you
Yes.
have other clone effects, being able to strip legendary, that's always powerful potentially. So yeah,
Hmm.
I dig it. That's fun. I think I don't think this is going to be well, with these effects, with these kinds of clone cards, I feel like we always talk about them during preview season, then we start playing and no one runs them. Like, great example of that is realm sketching. Do you remember how much of a stink people made about realm sketching when Final Fantasy dropped? Like, oh my
Yes.
god, it's a clone that
Yeah.
can target lands. Is anyone I know some people out there are still holding it down for this card, but like in general, do you see this card places? Like I love
No.
it still. Don't get me wrong. I love my clones. I'm still playing freaking like what is it, C double for goodness sake. Like so
Right.
I'm very biased with this. I think realm sketching is great, but like I don't think it's like people were talking as though it was going to be a thing, and I don't believe it's a thing. Not really. You know? Definitely not in standard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, like I said in the previous episode, my favorite bending in the set is definitely Earth bending. I
Mm.
think it's the strongest out of all the bendings, with air bending coming a very, very close second.
Ooh, okay.
Um, Earthbender Ascension is probably my favorite card in the set because it's got what I think is the best bending, and I think it does a lot for 3 mana. For 2 and a green, it says when this enchantment enters Earthbend 2, then search your library for a basic land card, put it on the battlefield tapped, then
Oh,
shuffle.
wow.
So it ramps you and it turns on one of your lands. And then it has a landfall trigger on it that says whenever a land you control enters, put a quest counter on this enchantment. When you do, if it has 4 or more quest counters on it, put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. It gains trample to end of turn. So for let's say you play a 2 drop, like a really strong creature, and on turn 3 you play land, Earthbender Ascension, you search for your basic, you turn one of your previous lands into a creature, right? And then you go get another land here to start adding the quest counter. So any other land that you play after the fact is going to start to put just counters on all of the creatures you're creating. Um, it seems like you wouldn't want to play this in aggressive deck, but you know, I don't know. I think it's really good. I think Earthbending
I
is kind
agree.
of like a very good mechanic. I think it works really well with all of the creature lands from Eldraine. There's also Secret Tunnel that is in this set that can't be blocked. So it turns like your colorless creature land into an unblockable creature land, and if they happen to kill your land, you get them back anyway. So
Right.
like, fine, go ahead and kill my Restless Cottage. It still comes back as Restless Cottage.
Right.
And then when it comes back, I trigger the landfall on Earthbender
Again.
Ascension
Yeah,
again, which is
exactly.
just going to keep pumping my creatures. If my creatures don't already have trample, they're going to get trample.
Hmm.
And then, this lets you, maybe you combine this with cards like Vine Lasher,
Oh, yep.
the lizard from Bloomburrow, that landfalls, pings your opponent. You mentioned you can still play um, the Aftermath Analyst guy,
Yep.
Lumra. Like, this fits in that type of a deck. It's at worst, this card is 3 mana, animate a creature plus ramp.
Yeah, I mean this is a 3-for-1. Like this is 3 cards worth of stuff because you're getting the ramp, you're getting the Earthbend body, and you have the
Yep.
Ascension is its own thing still that still has more work to do. Like the kind of efficiency this is thrown on the board, like this is going to be a crazy comparison, and I'm not saying it's as good, but like this kind of reminds me of Fable of the Mirror Breaker for just like difficulty in stopping. Like if you don't counter it on the stack, like it's going to produce some kind of value that's going to be just tough to cleanly answer, you know?
And, not for nothing, but this card ramps you immediately the next turn into Boomy Unleashed. Because it takes you from
Oh,
3 mana to 4 mana, and then on your turn, presumably, you untap, play land. And then you get to play Boomy Unleashed, which is a
yep.
5/4 trample that earthbends you for. And then when it deals combat damage to a player, you untap all your lands, get an additional combat phase, but you can only attack with the land creatures. Well, by
Mm,
this point, you would have had animated 2 creatures that now can untap and attack. So, if you're just doing like combat stuff, it reminds me like FOMO giving you an additional combat step.
yeah.
That generally you only get to attack with one other creature during that extra
Mm-hmm.
combat step, unless you've gone crazy with the VV deck and you've got vigilance
Vigilance and
creatures, so
yeah.
on and so forth. But I want to play this. I think Earthbend is fantastic.
Yeah.
Um, so we're gonna see how many things that we can earthbend, how much it matters, and also, the not for nothing, the Gruul land from Eldraine. I'm sorry, from not Eldraine. I'm thinking about Ixalan. Untaps your creature when it attacks. Untaps another creature. It gives
Right.
+2/+0, and untaps the creature.
Which I always forget
So
about.
like,
Yeah, Restless Ridgeline. Yeah.
it's very
Yeah.
good. I think all of these
This is
cards
very
are,
good.
are fantastic. So if standard was fair again,
Yeah, exactly. If standard fair aggro existed, these would all be really cool parts of them. Like all of
yes.
this would be awesome. And like these are the kind of strategies right now that the current environment, the current kind of power level is preventing us from getting to.
Yes.
Um, and so I think that kind of dovetails us nicely. And I'm going to go ahead and say this is our question of the week, right? Because like let's just go for it. Um, in a couple of days, 2 days as of the recording of this episode, there's going to be a BNR. So the ban and restrict announcement is coming down the pipe. How many cards do you think are going to be in it? And what are your final guesses for what's going to get hit?
If I had it my way, I would ban the
Oh, that's
following
a separate
five.
list from what's going
Uh,
to actually happen. But yeah.
yes. What do I think's actually going to happen? I think they are going to ban like maybe 2 cards from standard. They're going to ban
Okay.
VV
Yep.
and not Cauldron, but I think realistically they might ban VV and I don't know, something from the Dimir deck.
Right.
Um, whether that's Kaito or otherwise. What I want them to ban from standard is Vivi, Kaido, Enduring Curiosity, Screaming Nemesis, and Omniscience. In
Yep.
that order from first through fifth,
So wait,
in levels
Vivi,
of importance to
Kaido,
ban out of the format. Vivi,
Enduring
Kaido,
Curiosity.
Enduring Curiosity, Screaming Nemesis, Omniscience. I've already spoken my piece plenty of
Yep.
times to how I don't think Omniscience belongs in standard.
Yep.
Um, and I know that the Simic Omniscience deck is not currently the number one deck in standard at
Mm-hmm.
all by any means, but
No.
it is very powerful. And being able to still do that after banning Abuelo's Awakening in this format because we didn't want
Mm-hmm.
turn 4 Omniscience to happen doesn't make sense to me with Kona. Um, that being said, I think Kona is a fairer card. It's Omniscience that is the unfair card and should have been dealt with to start with.
Yep.
Um, so I think they should piece out those 5 cards from the format. Now, that is not to say that there probably shouldn't be other cards on that list.
Yeah.
Proph's Eidetic Memory is a hell of a magic card. I
Mm-hmm.
think we're going to get to a point where they will eventually have to address that card if they do nothing this time. Um, it's just too good of a value engine in combination with all of the other Izzet cards, right?
Yeah.
This isn't like we were before when Proph's Memory came out in the same set as Steam Core Scholar, and it was very clear and recognizable that that synergy was very good. That was when Karlov
Mm-hmm.
Manor was out. So you're talking pre Duskmorn, before FOMO. You're talking
Right.
about pre Aetherdrift, so before Marauding Mako. All of
Mm-hmm.
these cards were designed knowing that they were going to interact with each other at some point or another, right?
Right.
And at least I would hope that the play design team had been testing them as such, because there's no way you could miss that. Um,
Right.
you know, so I think Profs is eventually going to be a card you have to deal with. Do I think they're going to ban it in this ban announcement coming up on Monday? No. Um, personally, I would prefer if they would ban more aggressively. I know they don't want to do that, but
Mm-hmm.
we cannot have another standard RCQ season destroyed. There's no
Right.
way,
Yeah.
especially in the year that they wanted to revitalize standard. And y'all can check out on my socials, did a whole video on it. Me going to an RCQ, and it was me and one other person that showed up. I live in New Jersey. This is never a problem here. So that shows you how badly that the current state of standard has destroyed the RCQ season. There's no way they can let it happen again.
No,
No
absolutely
way.
not. Yeah.
And if you want to highlight any of these sweet cards that we just talked about in Avatar, and the same reason why your Spider-Man cards aren't making an impact, you have to stop what's happening now, because we're at that tier 0 point, and unless you print a card that is more powerful than what's going on at the tier 0 point, none of these cards even enter the realm of possibility of something that you can play in a meta deck and go win a tournament with. It just
Mm-hmm.
doesn't work that way. So we
Yes.
gotta we got we gotta do something, please.
Yeah. Correct. Could not
And
agree more.
that being said, I
Yeah.
also think it's kind of bullshittery that we can play cards like Superior Spider-Man Cavero on turn 4
Yep.
and win the game. I don't think that's fair at all. And the fact that that deck can do that and get around graveyard hate because there are multiple cards that kill like Rest in Peace and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, eventually, that's going to have to be dealt with. Um,
Potentially. Yeah.
as much as I and you love Reanimator decks,
Well, it's funny too. It's funny you mentioned that because I tried dusting off like that Cavero Bringer the Last Gift deck. I hate playing that deck. I hate it. I had an awful time with it because in my experience, it was all variants. You know, like there was one game where I
Sure, yeah.
literally I milled through 47 cards and I never saw one copy of Cavero. And it's just like, what the
Oh
hell do
no.
you want me to do, game? Like,
Arena Premium is what you need.
it was like
Arena
literally the
Premium.
bottom 13 cards were all 4 copies. It was like, what are we doing? And so I personally like that idea of kind of the slot machine style deck where it's just like I feel like that deck is too all in on like its combo. And yeah, that one combo turn 4 win the game on the spot, which is also why I don't like the Kona decks because like they're as they currently exist. But that just comes down to Omni being busted and shouldn't. It's a card that should never be in standard. Like it's just I couldn't agree with that point more. I'll be surprised if it's on the ban list on Monday. I'll be shocked, but I think it belongs there. It should be gone.
Yeah.
But yeah, like every point you just made, seconded, agreed. You know, but yeah. So no, at the end of the day, the turn 4, I guess I win like situation is not fun. And like even when I'm doing it, I don't enjoy it. So like if I'm going to be playing Reanimator, I want to be doing something that involves I want to be doing something that involves a little bit of setup and a little bit of nuance. And like, I like having the ramp backups so that I have flexible approaches to how I'm going to take out the game, you know, because then they play differently. You know, like I really enjoy the Sultai ramp decks that are leveraging like Lumbering Worldwagon and Sin and some of these other like, you know, that Smuggler. And then you have Smuggler Surprise in addition to, you know, Graveyard action. So if the Graveyard gets shut off, like, well, I guess I'm a ramp deck now. That's fine. I can pivot and go that. And so now as I'm discarding cards to satisfy all these things, I'm just discarding my reanimation spells instead of the creatures to them. Like, all right, we'll figure it out. And like that gives me as a player much more agency, and I enjoy that. Whereas like the Cavero decks or the Kona decks, you're just all in on just doing the one BS thing. And like if you do the one BS thing, you win. If you don't, you lose. And it's like, well, that sucks. Like I don't know. I don't enjoy it at all. So I would love to see those kinds of play patterns reduced. But at the end of the day, I'm thinking. So honestly, my predictions and my wants are kind of the same as what you're talking about. I'm expecting Vivi. I'm expecting to see Kaido. Like if I had to like, you know, gun to my head, I have to pick one. I'm gonna say Kaido. But like if Enduring Curiosity was the thing that they hit out of the Dimir deck, I wouldn't be mad. But I do think something from that deck is gonna get tagged, like you're saying. So I'm thinking Vivi, Kaido, and I think they're gonna pull the trigger on Scremesis. I think Screaming Nemesis is gonna get hit. I maybe that's off base, but right now the red deck is like the second best deck. Now it's currently the second best deck because it has a good matchup against Vivi, and that's the only reason. But like Screaming Nemesis is the single strongest, like just generic value card that every single variant of every single red deck ever is going to be running. So if you want to slow down the mono red deck, that is a safe card to hit most versions of it, I think.
Yeah.
And so that's what I'm expecting there. And then, I want to see, I would love to see Omni in the mix as well. God, I want to see Omni hit. And I would like to see Enduring Curiosity. Actually, you know what I really want to see? The thing I want to see above everything else when it comes to the bans. I want to see them ban all the cards that have been around for 2 or more years. You know, go back to a 2-year rotation, please. Please. At the rate the product is being pumped out right now, like there's no, like we're at a point right now where there are 20 sets in standard. Like the biggest standard set, or the biggest standard that we had in the past for decades was 8, you know, or like 9 if you count Aftermath or whatever. And like that was supposed to be the biggest ever. And now we've reached a point where that is smaller than the smallest we can get now. It's absurd. So
You will be out of time. So we have 6 sets this year. Standard next rotates in 2027.
27, yep.
It's not 26. It's January of 2027 is the next standard rotation. And then they rotate on a yearly basis. So in January of 27, right?
Yeah.
Or January 27, then 28, 29, so on and so forth.
Cool.
You will have the only set that would have not experienced a full 3 years in standard when that happens will be Bloomburrow and Duskmourn. They would have only lived 2.5 years or something like this because of the release dates. When that eventually rotates. But you'll get to a point where you have 6 + 7 + 6 in standard. So 17 sets in standard in total. That's unlike ever before. I used to be the pessimist, and
Mm-hmm.
originally I didn't think that there ever should have been a 3-year standard. I was fine with 2-year standard.
Right.
Where it made sense to switch to 3-year standard was because coming out of the pandemic, if you wanted to revitalize the format and you wanted people to play with their decks, with their cards longer that they might have gotten during the pandemic and didn't have
Yeah.
a chance to play with, that made sense to me. It doesn't make sense anymore because, like
Mm-hmm.
you said, with the amount of sets that they are producing, 2-year standard is fine. If your baseline is that you want to have 6 sets a year and all of them be standard, right? That's its own like talking point in terms of like too much product.
Right.
But if that's the baseline that you want to be at, then just give us a 12-year standard. The problem is going to be all of these sets have been designed for 3-year standard. So they can't
Right.
easily do that unless they eventually come out and tell us that they were only designing for a 2-year standard to revert back. Because if not, it's going to take you 3 years from this point to get back to a point where they can do that because they designed the set so far in advance.
Right. But
The answer
yeah.
ultimately needs to
Yeah.
be that they stop producing all of these sets for standard. I
Mm-hmm.
and that's not talking about Universes Beyond. I love Universes Beyond product
Oh, sure.
personally, but the if you were to do 4 standard sets a year and do 2 non-standard set releases, and you
Great.
still want to do six sets a year, fine, totally fine to me. Um, but yeah, less sets that are standard legal would be great.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Couldn't agree more. Because yeah, they were pumping out the same amount of sets, but when double masters or commander legends were like in the mix, okay, neat. Like,
Yep.
as standard players, we could opt out. That was meaningful. It really, really was. And tons of people still bought those anyway. So like,
Hmm.
what's the problem? Yeah. Anyway, good stuff. Well, dude, thank you. This has been good conversation. We've hit the 2 hour mark, which is
Oh
a sign
wow,
of a good pod, I
so
think.
much yapping.
Yeah, I know, right? So much yapping. And if you got to this point and we've been your commute all week, thank you for hanging out with us. We appreciate it. Um, but yeah, dude, Carlo, always a pleasure, my friend. Thank you for being available today. This was wonderful. And thank you for your insights on Avatar. I really do appreciate. Yeah, you have a killer eye for. Well, you've also had some time to peruse them, which is great, and I
Yes.
appreciate
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing that with us. Awesome. But yeah, thank you, dear viewer. Thank you, dear listener. Before we go, did you have anything coming up that you want to promote or let people know
Oh,
about?
actually,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. So PAX Unplugged is in a couple weeks in Philly. So if you'll be at PAX Unplugged, I will be there Friday through Sunday. I have one of those cool creator passes, so I will be around the tournament floor or wherever they're doing the Magic stuff. They're actually
Heck yeah.
doing if anybody's interested, they do a lot of free stuff at PAX Unplugged. You
Mm.
got to pay for the ticket to get in, but there's tons of free stuff that you can do in. Magic is having a free demo session at their booth that takes you
Mm.
like an hour and a half. It's like testing something they might do in the future. So if you ever
Oh,
wanted to check out a preview of something that may be coming, I don't know what it is. I'll find out when I get there because I'm going to do it. But it's like an hour and a half session of testing something they may do in the future, and they give you a cool special gift just for stopping by.
oh, that
Um,
sounds sick.
so make sure you check it out. It's going to be happening during Avatar release weekend. So pre-release is so when you're listening to this, pre-release is this weekend coming up. I can't believe that it's this weekend,
That's
November already.
wild that we're
Um,
here. Yeah.
but pre-release is coming up, which means the streamer event for us is on Wednesday.
Whoop, whoop.
Then your pre-release event starts on Friday. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday is pre-release weekend at your LGS. It comes to Arena the following Tuesday. It's legal and standard upon pre-release, but on Arena it'll be legal on the Tuesday, and then that weekend is PAX Unplugged and release weekend at the big box stores for Avatar. So
Heck yeah.
yeah, I will be there. Like I said, at PAX Unplugged, I will have plenty of commander decks with me. I will bring a standard deck with me if there happens to be a standard event that's popping off.
Let's
Um,
go.
I'm building this Iroh Grand Lotus
Heck yeah.
commander that I have to build for a stream together with our friend Kuro Hitsuki. Um,
Nice.
and I'm building it similar to a Niv Mizzet, the Firemind deck.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
so I'm like, how can I take advantage of firebending, but then like all of these sweet lessons? Um, so here's me playing like Sozin's Comet and Cracked Earth Technique, a bunch of lessons that are from the
Oh,
Avatar set.
Let's go.
combined with some of your original lessons from Strixhaven. You know, and I might just have like a Furby Serum Visions in the deck. It is what it
Yeah.
is. Um, but listen. The
I hate
reason
how
I
much I
wanted to
don't
play
hate
the
that.
Furby card is because I got the one that come with Tormenting Voice because I knew I was going to build this deck, and so this is a nice little Furby Tormenting Voice to take a look at as you are drawing cards and doing stuff and things.
Incredible.
So I may be playing that with my Knuckles Unexpected Windfall and, my Spider-Man Winds of Change. Iroh's going to teach us all of these lessons, and I'm going to have fun with it.
Amazing. Man, Iroh is very well read. I had no idea.
Yeah.
Very eclectic tastes. I love it.
Right.
Amazing. Oh, fantastic. Well, yeah. That's wonderful. I definitely want to see that thing in action. Can't wait for that video to come out.
Yes.
Or is that going to be on Kuro's stream? Either way, I'm definitely
it's
need to
going to
check
be
it
on
out.
Kuro's stream, and I'm sure he will put out
sick.
a video of it. Yeah.
Okay, amazing. Awesome. Well, yeah. Well, thanks so much again. And thank you, dear listener. Please like, subscribe, do the things. And we'll catch you on the next one, everybody. Take it easy. Later.
Later.